Chapter 1857. A Nirvana Sovereign! At this moment, Du Xiaofu's expression was also slightly surprised. Du Xiaofu could sense the aura of a Nirvana Sovereign from the old man's aura. This old man from the Yinyang school was a Nirvana Sovereign. However, Du Xiaofu could not tell if he was a greater Nirvana Sovereign or a lesser Nirvana Sovereign. Interesting. You have indeed cultivated the cultivation method of the great golden winged ping bird clan. After recovering from his shock, the gray-haired old man's expression returned to normal. He smiled faintly and an invisible force spread across the land. It was difficult to detect, but it quietly suppressed the surrounding space. A terrifying aura spread across the space, causing the legs of the disciples of the Yinyang school to go weak. This kind of pressure was very special. It was related to the Yinyang Qi, but also not the Yinyang Qi. Senior, please. Du Xiaofu smiled faintly. With a shake of his purple robes, a faint golden light surged from the surface of his body. As this golden light spread, an undetectable aura spread out. This was the Imperial Palace's Dragon Qi. Under its influence, Du Xiaofu was immediately no longer affected by the invisible force from the old man. Or rather, this suppression was already within the range that he could resist. Seeing Du Xiaofu's relaxed expression, the gray-haired old man's expression changed again. He was a little surprised that the young man in front of him could deal with him so easily. It should be known that the profound of earth that he cultivated came from the Yinyang school of Yinyang. It was unique and only he had successfully cultivated it in the entire Yinyang school of Yinyang. He had been in seclusion for nearly 1,000 years to achieve some success. Although he was surprised, the old man did not stop for long. He had already heard of this young man's background. His deep eyes rippled. As his hand seals changed, a yellow light flashed under his feet and he immediately leapt forward. Kid, show me your full strength. I am 7-Star Break. I will not show any mercy. As 7-Star Break leapt forward, runes immediately flashed in the air. His figure left behind a series of afterimages. A strange energy quietly gathered in the air. Everywhere it passed, the space suddenly froze and distorted. 7-Star Break, he is. However, at that moment, when the old man announced his name, the gazes of Qi Yeshi, Qi Jiejun, many of the old people on the square around the Yinyang balcony, Zhou Wenan, and a few other disciples from the school of Yinyang trembled violently, and their bodies trembled involuntarily. 7-Star Break was a legendary figure in the Yinyang school. Even within the school, he was a legend. The 7-Star Break was a supreme genius from the Yinyang school who had been famous for almost 1,000 years. He was a supreme nirvana and was once unrivaled among his peers. He had left behind a glorious legacy 1,000 years ago, but no one had ever seen him before. There were rumors that this supreme being had fallen outside, or that he had gone mad during his cultivation. Only at this moment did everyone find out that this supreme being, Qi Xingpe, hadn't died, nor had he suffered from qi deviation. He had only been in closed-door cultivation all this time. Today, in the battle against the demon king Du Xiaofu, this supreme of the Yinyang school from 1,000 years ago had actually appeared. It's granduncle Qi Xingpe. Qi Yeshi frowned with a grave expression. She had also heard of the legend left behind by this supreme being from the Yinyang school from 1,000 years ago. He was her granduncle, an absolute martial arts fanatic, and was once unrivaled among his peers in the world. Qi! In just a short moment, within the frozen space on the Yinyang balcony, 7-Star Break's figure appeared in front of Du Xiaofu like lightning. He shook his arm, and mysterious talismans soared into the sky. A fist suddenly rushed out and directly blasted towards Du Xiaofu. Everything happened very quickly. 7-Star Break's fist swept over, and the talismans erupted with a strange power. The space suddenly shrank and collapsed. Qi! At the same time, a golden light spread out in front of Du Xiaofu. The light erupted from the soles of his feet as he stepped out with a carefree ripple step. 7-Star Break's fist shattered the space, and a pitch-black light flashed in front of his fist. Under many stunned gazes, the fist shattered Du Xiaofu's figure. However, under this fist, Du Xiaofu's shattered figure didn't spill any blood. Instead, Seven-Star Break's expression changed greatly, and he suddenly turned around. Chi! In a flash, Du Xiaofu's figure had unknowingly appeared in front of Seven-Star Break, who had turned around. His eyes shot out golden light, and his aura was like an erupting volcano, suddenly overbearing and looking down on all living things. Roar! Chi! With a shake of his arm, Du Xiaofu blasted out a fist as fast as lightning and as powerful as thunder. Accompanied by the roar of dragons and the roar of elephants, in the rumbling of the void, lightning flashed and thunder suddenly appeared, and it directly blasted towards Seven-Star Break. So fast! Seven-Star Break was surprised. He quickly poured out his Xian Qi, and the mysterious runes on his talismans fluctuated. He immediately raised his fist and blasted out. In front of this fist, there was a strange energy that suddenly surged out, and the surrounding yin and yang qi instantly turned into a whirlpool in front of his fist. There was a majestic and vast qi spreading out, and the fist broke the space. Pung pung pung. The two fists collided, and starting from the front of the two, the void exploded as if the sky was collapsing. The rock-solid ground of the yin balcony below began to crack, and the rocks collapsed. The terrifying energy of the talisman ripples was like a tsunami, suddenly sweeping out in the void. The invisible and overbearing aura shook the space, and the space rippled endlessly, as if thunder was unceasingly roaring between heaven and earth. At this moment, countless gazes were all filled with fear. The void around the yin balcony had already been strengthened. Even if the yin balcony was exploding, the energy didn't leak out. Otherwise, with such an impact force, who would be qualified to be affected by it? Chi La! Seven-Star Break was forced back, and he staggered back on the cracked ground. He only stabilized his body after a dozen steps. The terrifying wind raised his white robe, and his gray-white hair danced wildly. His face was serious, and the fluctuations couldn't be seen clearly. However, on the fist that he had just punched out, there were drops of bright red blood dripping down, emitting a bright light. Whose blood is that? On the mountain peak, the group of elders also tensed up. Was the blood on Seven-Star Break's fist his own, or the demon king Du Xiaofu's? Dust filled the sky, obscuring their vision. There was a golden light overflowing, and then, under everyone's gaze, Du Xiaofu's figure appeared. His expression was calm, and his long black hair was slightly scattered on his shoulders. Swish, swish. Everyone's gaze immediately landed on Du Xiaofu's fist. There was no trace of blood. It's not Du Xiaofu's blood! Everyone was astonished. Everyone's eyes were trembling. In a single exchange of fists, the yin-yang expert had already been injured. His physical body is too abnormal. Granduncle shouldn't have fought that guy head-on in terms of physical strength. Shi Jiejun sighed. He was very clear about Du Xiaofu's abnormal physical strength. Fighting that guy head-on was simply asking for a beating. That guy's physical body is too strong. It seems to be even stronger than a real golden-winged rock's body. His speed is also inconceivably fast. Some of the yin-yang elders spoke. They couldn't help but feel shocked. That kind of physical body was truly abnormal. On the cracked yin-yang platform, Seven-Star Break clenched his fist. He felt a bit numb, and his calm face twitched. Seven-Star Break was the most clear about how terrifying the former's fist was. He had fought against the Golden-Winged Rock Race's experts before, and the Golden-Winged Rock Race's physical body wasn't as abnormal. Senior, you let me win. Du Xiaofu cupped his fists and bowed. He looked at Seven-Star Break and smiled faintly. You let me win? What do you mean you let me win? Did I lose? Seven-Star Break glared at Du Xiaofu, his eyes bulging. He had been in seclusion all this time, and had originally been rather disdainful of the Moon Saint's arrangement to deal with a junior. However, Seven-Star Break had never imagined that, strictly speaking, a single move would cause him to suffer such a huge loss. This was a loss of face for him. Senior's strength is tyrannical and profound. Let's stop here. Consider this junior's loss. Du Xiaofu's eyes flashed with a hint of a smile. The entire place fell silent as they looked at each other. On the broken balcony, Qi Xingpe was fuming with rage. How could he not hear that the brat in front of him was being courteous and courteous? But the meaning behind his words was that he should stop after a certain point. In any case, Qi Xingpe wasn't his match, so it was fine if he won. This kid is really arrogant. On the distant mountain peak, some of the Yin-Yang elders and protectors were secretly twitching their eyes. Du Xiaofu clearly didn't care about 7-star break at all. He's purposely provoking granduncle, Qi Yeshi muttered to herself as she stood on the mountain peak. She looked at the purple-robed man from afar, and her red lips could only curve into a bitter smile. Kid, it's not over yet. Show me your true strength, Qi Xingpe said in a deep voice. The aura around his body rushed out again, like an exploding volcano, with the sound of wind and thunder whistling. A terrifying aura soared into the sky. His eyes also surged with starlight in an instant, as if they had turned into 2 stars. As Qi Xingpe's eyes seemed to transform into 2 stars, a profound energy storm accompanied by mysterious runes instantly erupted with him as the center. Rumble! Lightning flashed and thunder roared in the sky. The sky suddenly darkened, and a river of stars appeared. The earth rumbled, and the rumbling sound made one's soul tremble. Such a terrifying aura stunned the surrounding Yin-Yang disciples. This terrifying aura was vast and majestic, and it was like an earthquake. The surrounding square was trembling, and cracks the size of an arm appeared. Du Xiaofu stood on the dark balcony, allowing the terrifying profound energy storm to sweep over him. His body was like a boulder, and his purple robe and black hair fluttered in the wind. His eyes were fixed on 7-star break, and his eyes rippled. A Nirvana sovereign. Has he reached the state of immortality? Du Xiaofu's eyes narrowed as he sensed the frightening aura around him. The aura that contained the essence of stars and another energy related to yin and yang had been fused together by the 7-star break. Such talent was enough to prove how frightening the 7-star break elder was. Moreover, he was a Nirvana stage practitioner. In addition, the terrifying aura around him crushed the void. Du Xiaofu also felt an aura that surpassed the Nirvana realm. This senior Qi Xingpe before him ought to have already stepped foot into the level of Nirvana realm. Chapter 1858. Huff! Taking a deep breath, Du Xiaofu's eyes rippled with golden light. Mysterious runes flickered, as if 2 golden-winged great rocks were about to emerge. Boom! Space trembled. At the same time, a terrifyingly domineering aura gushed out from Du Xiaofu's body. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's reincarnation Nirvana stage aura was not held back at all. It was incomparably vigorous, and actually did not lose out to 7-star at all. A loud and heroic shout rang out. Senior's indestructible Nirvana stage, Junior's reincarnation Nirvana stage will seek guidance from you. Boom! In the space around the trembling yin balcony, 7-star Po's figure suddenly expanded as Du Xiaofu's voice sounded. Upon closer inspection, it was possible to see densely packed mysterious runes climbing up 7-star Po's body, emitting dazzling starlight. In the end, it was as if 7-star Po's entire body was wrapped by a star. His aura distorted the sky, causing spatial ripples to spread out. The mountain peak in the distance shook as if it was on the verge of collapse. Within the light, his eyes were like 2 stars, incomparably terrifying. When such a terrifying scene appeared, the disciples of the school of Yin-Yang felt a lingering pressure that came from their bloodlines and souls. They couldn't help but tremble and go weak in the knees. Some of the weaker ones had already collapsed on the ground, their faces deathly pale. Star Martial Vane! On the mountain peak in the distance, the expressions of the Yin-Yang elders and protectors changed in shock. That terrifying aura had affected them even from a distance. Granduncle has been provoked by that fellow and used his Star Martial Vane! Looking at the Yin balcony, Qi Jiejun's expression hardened slightly. He smiled bitterly, but his expression was also filled with anticipation. Would the Demon King, Du Xiaofu, still be as ferocious and domineering as before when he met the peerless supreme genius of the Yin-Yang school from 1,000 years ago? Qi Mingxian, Qi Yeshi and ancestors Xing Hun all looked forward with serious expressions, unable to take their eyes off the battle. Little guy, show me your true strength. The sound of the 7 stars break came out from the huge light. The light covered the sky, as if a star giant was walking over. The enormous light contained a monstrous power, causing the void to distort, the ground to collapse, and the mountain rocks to crack. There's no way to fight back. The surrounding yin-yang disciples trembled and involuntarily backed away. The pressure and fear that came from the depths of their bloodlines and souls made them tremble incessantly. Their souls trembled, and they wanted to bow down and worship him. This pressure was too terrifying. As the 7-star breaker approached Du Xiaofu, the void rumbled. Even the darkness in the sky was illuminated by the light, and the light was dazzling. Senior, I'm afraid that you won't be able to withstand my true strength. His opponent was a true expert, a paragon of the older generation from the school of Yin-Yang. Du Xiaofu's heroic spirit soared to the clouds, and he no longer acted courteously. Golden light soared into the sky. Du Xiaofu's aura was incomparably domineering. He wanted to fight against an undying Nirvana realm expert. This was a rare opportunity to prove himself. Oh, at this moment, under the invisible pressure of the great golden-winged rock race, the demonic beasts of the school of Yin-Yang roared and trembled in fear. The surrounding Yin-Yang disciples were also frightened. Good boy, you're arrogant enough. Let's see if you have the strength to be so arrogant. The voice of the 7-star breaker came out from the light. It was old and deep, but it also contained the domineering and arrogant aura of a paragon. Yin and Yang, the 5 elements of heaven and earth, the boundless earth, heaven and earth overturn. The 7-star breaker shouted, and the starlight released a terrifying yellow light. The earth trembled, and cracks appeared in the void. The divine light surged like raging waves. Whoosh! In the end, streaks of yellow light shrouded the entire void, including Du Xiaofu, like a bolt of lightning. Within this yellow light, Du Xiaofu suddenly felt like he was in a heavy world. It was as if he was in a quagmire, and it was difficult for him to move. In this yellow world, there was a divine power that suppressed Du Xiaofu's physical body, and it could also affect Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit. Immeasurable stars, star punishment! The sound of the 7 stars break rang out once more. Within the dazzling light, there were starlight talisman runes interweaving with each other. It was as if a river of stars had appeared in the yellow world, and a rain of starlight was falling down, crushing the world and covering the surrounding void. It was as if Du Xiaofu would explode under the pressure. Bang, bang, bang! Above the void, the heavens collapsed, and the earth cracked. There were continuous explosions. This scene was too terrifying. The Yin-Yang disciples who were constantly retreating felt their hearts tremble as they watched. This is the combination of the star martial vein and the profound of earth formed by the Yin and Yang Qi. This kind of power can suppress anyone below the sage realm. On the mountain peak, old ancestor Xing Han sighed softly. His aged face was filled with emotions. He was deeply shocked. Although Qi Xingpa was his junior, Qi Xingpa's current strength had long surpassed him. All the elders and protectors of the Yin-Yang school, and even supremacy Qi Mingxian, were holding their breaths as they waited. What would the outcome of the Yin-Yang school's older generation's supreme genius facing off against the Demon King, Du Xiaofu? At this moment, 7-star breaker's terrifying strength could suppress anyone below the sage realm. He should be able to suppress the Demon King, right? He will definitely be able to withstand it. At this moment, Qi Yeshi looked forward, and his eyes were filled with conviction. This was his understanding of Yishiwen, and also a kind of confidence in Yishiwen. In the void of the Yin-Yang balcony, all the power was terrifying, crushing everything in the void. Du Xiaofu stood, his purple robes fluttering in the wind. Golden light lingered around him, and within the light of the galaxy, there were shadows of stars falling. With him as the center, it set off his extraordinary and domineering figure. Come on! A shout rang out like thunder. Du Xiaofu moved. A tyrannical energy fluctuation emanated from his body, bringing with it purple-gold lightning arcs that undulated like an ocean. It was like a purple-gold rainbow that soared across the sky. Dazzling purple lightning runes surged in all directions. Rumble! In the blink of an eye, Du Xiaofu's golden body was also covered with purple lightning talisman patterns. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Amidst the endless thunder, purple gold light burst out from the void and shot into the ancient firmament of the Yin-Yang school. It was as if the sun was about to rise in this ancient world. Crash! Everything happened very quickly, and in a short instant, the dazzling purple-gold electric arcs were boundless. A huge purple-gold golden-winged rock phantom appeared and enveloped Du Xiaofu's figure. The two seemed to merge into one, and it was as if Du Xiaofu had turned into a real golden-winged rock. An unparalleled power suddenly descended. Screech! The purple-gold thunder rock screeched, and the phantom spread its wings. Purple-gold electric arcs sparkled all over its body, and its ferocious aura spread out, causing the entire ancient world to tremble. When such a purple-gold thunder rock descended with such a terrifying power, the elders and experts of the Yin-Yang school on the mountain peak in the distance froze in shock. Fight! Fight! With a roar, the purple-gold thunder rock flapped its wings, and purple-gold electric arcs shot out from its eyes. It was as if two suns were shining in the sky, overlooking all life in the world. In the yellow world, it soared into the firmament and rushed into the galaxy. Its unparalleled power caused the entire space to tremble, and it shook everyone's soul. Rumble! The stars in the galaxy were shattering. The purple-gold thunder rock flapped its wings and flew across the void, shattering the stars one by one, and the explosion shook the world. At this moment, Du Xiaofu activated the golden-winged rock's divine ability and merged with the thunder martial vein. He no longer held back and used all his strength. Vigorous power surged in his body, and every move he made could explode the void and shatter the stars. It was incomparably carefree and domineering. Encountering an opponent like the Nirvana realm, Du Xiaofu was proving himself. This was a rare opportunity, and he could even have a chance to peek into the mysteries of the Nirvana realm. Break! Du Xiaofu became more and more courageous as he fought. From time to time, he would roar loudly. From the huge purple-gold thunder rock phantom, there was a supreme aura that filled the air, suppressing heaven and earth. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the surrounding void, and purple lightning burst out. This was the power of the thunder martial vein. It swept across the sky and could not be provoked, and it could kill the world. Thunder martial vein! On the mountain peak, Qi Mingshuan's face turned serious. Above the sky, there was also an obscure fluctuation. It seemed to be rippling, and then it disappeared. Rumble! Rumble! The purple-gold lightning fell, and lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the space. The purple-gold thunder rock soared into the sky, flapping its wings and sweeping across the sky. It was domineering and fierce, and it was the only sovereign. Such a collision sounded like thunder in the sky, and a series of bright runes burst out like fireworks, causing the entire sky to be dazzling. Behind this dazzling light, the energy contained was destruction. The surrounding space of the ancient world trembled, and pitch-black spatial cracks appeared everywhere. Finally, the galaxy was shattered by the purple-gold thunder rock. Chi! In the next moment, the purple-gold thunder rock phantom dissipated, and Du Xiaofu's figure walked out of the huge purple-gold thunder rock. Under everyone's dull eyes, Du Xiaofu's hand seals changed rapidly, and the afterimages changed. A golden light rushed into the sky again, and in an instant, there were 9 giant dragon phantoms condensed. Ao 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 ao! The 9 giant dragon phantoms roared, and the dragon roared into the 9 heavens. Wild Dragon 9th Heaven, borrow the power of the Qian Dragon! Boom! When the 9 dragon phantoms appeared, Du Xiaofu's purple-gold eyes emitted 2 rays of light, like 2 golden thunderbolts shooting into the sky. In an instant, the 9 giant dragon phantoms also turned into 9 energy ribbons, and like lightning, they fell into Du Xiaofu's body. Boom! Boom! As the 9 giant dragon phantoms swept in, the aura on Du Xiaofu's body soared like a rocket. This was the cultivation technique of the Hehuan school. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was finally able to push the wild dragon ninth heaven to the limit after reincarnation. However, to push the wild dragon ninth heaven to the limit, this kind of aura did not soar too much for Du Xiaofu's current cultivation level, but it was already a huge benefit. Break for me! Without any delay, a smile appeared on Du Xiaofu's resolute face, and purple gold lightning shot out from his eyes like two purple gold suns. The execution swept across the sky, and as his aura soared, he moved his arms. Chapter 1859. Boom! As Du Xiaofu waved his arm, purple gold lightning gathered to form a purple gold lightning bolt. Like a stormy sea, it smashed into the yellow world. The aura of the executioner caused the space to rumble. Rumble! The heavens collapsed and the earth cracked. The universe reached its peak, and a phenomenon appeared in the sky. Then, the yellow world was finally destroyed by such a terrifying might. It crumbled inch by inch. Dang dang! The energy dissipated, and the runes cracked. Amidst the crumbling void, the yellow world shattered. Qi Xingpo's body could be seen retreating in a straight line. Wherever his feet passed, the ground cracked and shattered. Boom! Qi Xingpo's body retreated dozens of feet. His hair was messy, his gray robe fluttered, and there were traces of blood at the corner of his mouth. His eyes were like stars as he stomped his right foot on the ground. Under his foot, a crack of several feet wide appeared. His body, which was retreating, suddenly leaped into the air. With a tap of his foot, he rose into the air once again. I didn't expect the combination of the golden rock and the lightning martial vein to be so powerful. Brat, you're really extraordinary. When such a deep voice came out from Qi Xingpo's mouth, as his body rose into the air, a new aura swept out without holding back. At this moment, starlight once again filled the sky and filled the void. The sound of wind and thunder resounded and filled the void in all directions. He's going to use his full strength. Boom! The purple gold lightning in Du Xiaofu's eyes fluctuated. This Qi Xingpo was definitely not ordinary. His aura was even more terrifying than Qin Tian's. Boom! Boom! In an instant, Qi Xingpo, who rose into the air once again, had divine light flickering on his body like flames. Above his forehead, 6 rings of divine light appeared, like a divine ring. A vast aura spread out, as if a sovereign was suppressing all living things. Lesser sovereign nirvana. Du Xiaofu narrowed his eyes. Qi Xingpo was a lesser sovereign nirvana. Brat, show me your final strength. Qi Xingpo shouted. He was already using his full strength. At this moment, the divine ring on his body was like the sun, shining continuously. His entire body was blazing. The blazing light also contained a terrifying might. It was incredibly vast and heavy, and it shook the entire ancient world of the school of Yin-Yang. In just a short period of time, the ordinary-looking old man had truly descended like a supreme being, suppressing the world with his might. So strong, this is Xingpo's strongest strength. On the mountain peak, the expressions of the Yin-Yang school's elders changed, their expressions changing. This type of power was too terrifying, possessing a type of pressure that was difficult to resist. It's just the nirvana of a lesser sovereign. Senior, please use the full power of your indestructibility. Junior wishes to have a peek. I am eternally grateful. Du Xiaofu spoke. When he fought against the 7-star breaker, he could feel traces of the indestructibility. This brat is really arrogant. An elder on the mountain peak spoke, his eyes twitching. The 7 stars break had already used the power of a supreme being, yet that demon king Du Xiaofu actually didn't care too much about it. He actually still wanted to use the 7 stars break to feed the attack, and use it to pry into the level of undying and imperishable. He simply didn't put the 7-star break in his eyes and only treated it as a training target. Granduncle Xingpa seems to be injured. Qi Jiejun spoke. He had long seen the faint bloodstain hanging on the corner of the 7 stars break's mouth, which was caused by Du Xiaofu. Brat, as you wish. The 7 stars break in the sky, the light around his body surged, as if a sun had enveloped this world. Under the terrifying might, the light drowned the earth, and a strange phenomenon appeared, causing the void to crack, shocking the entire yin-yang school. The power of a supreme being, Du Xiaofu murmured softly. At the same time, the purple-golden light in his eyes surged, and the ancient runes around his body jumped and rose like raging flames. These ancient runes changed, connecting with each other in a strange arc, distorting the void. Stars piercing sun. The 7 stars break shouted again. He didn't want to delay. The 6 divine rings fluctuated, and the aura caused the void to tremble. An invisible force soared into the sky, and a river of stars appeared in the void. The stars rotated, and the river of stars appeared, enveloping Du Xiaofu. This was the full power of the 7 stars break, the power of a supreme being, the martial veins of the stars, and the profound of the stars, as well as the qi of yin and yang. Under the terrifying power, a strange phenomenon appeared, and the entire yin-yang school's ancient heaven and earth trembled. Countless stars were connected, densely covering the void, and then crushing Du Xiaofu. Oh my God! Under such power, the yin-yang school's disciples around the yin-yang school's balcony had already gone weak in the legs and collapsed to the ground. The elders and protectors on the distant mountain peak also began to tremble, unable to resist such a terrifying power. It was also at this time that the light around Du Xiaofu finally turned into a divine ring. This divine ring was especially bright and dazzling, erupting with brilliant light like the rising sun, but it wasn't violent and domineering. When the divine ring appeared, a vast amount of heaven's might spread out. This heavenly power wasn't as great as the nirvana of a minor supreme being or a grand supreme being, and it wasn't as great as the nirvana of a perfected grand supreme being. This heavenly power spread out in the void, and although it didn't make much noise, it invisibly made the trembling yin-yang school's disciples hesitate, as if it could still protect them and prevent them from being affected by the 7 stars break supreme's power. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was in the sky, and the divine rings were in the sky, filled with divine light and a kind of sacred radiance. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was enveloped by a divine ring, and it blended with it. It was transcendent, and it was sacred and inviolable. The surging aura from Du Xiaofu's body was like a waterfall, surging and boiling, making people want to bow down and worship him. From afar, Du Xiaofu was the only one in the void, and it was incomparably dazzling, giving people the feeling that the heaven and earth had just been created, and all things were just born. Rumble. Rumble, but invisibly, wind and thunder resounded in the ancient land of the yin-yang school, and the earth was rumbling, sweeping up the sky and earth, and the void was fluctuating. Rumble. The 7 stars break pressed down in front of him, and the stars appeared and covered the void, as if the gods were attacking and sending down heavenly punishment. This kind of power was also terrifying, and it imprisoned the void. Only the starry shadows in the sky emitted dazzling light. This was shocking and terrifying. Not to mention a person being suppressed and imprisoned, even if a great sect or sect was swept by this kind of terrifying attack, they would be suppressed into ashes and nothingness, and it was enough to destroy everything. But there was an exception, and that was Du Xiaofu, who was like a god at this moment. His figure appeared in the void, and he looked at the terrifying starry shadows descending, and muttered softly, "Stars profound." When he finished speaking, Du Xiaofu suddenly stretched out his hand and said a word softly. "Freeze!" When this word spread out like the sound of the heavens, with Du Xiaofu as the center, the surrounding void was suddenly imprisoned, and the terrifying starry shadows that were rotating suddenly stopped in front of Du Xiaofu. At this moment, the countless gazes in the surroundings were dead silent. Countless gazes were also dumbfounded at this moment. Countless people's hair stood on end, and a feeling of fear and trepidation surged out from the depths of their hearts. Chapter 1860. At this moment, Qi Xingpe was also dumbfounded. He had never imagined that his strongest attack, which was formed by the fusion of several profound meanings with supreme power, would be stopped by the former. Du Xiaofu stretched out his hand, his fingers curling slightly. His surroundings froze. Waves of profound energy, accompanied by a special starlight rune, spread out from his hand. The aura in the sky surged, almost distorting the space. In the end, they intertwined with each other. In an instant, under the shocked gazes of everyone, they condensed into a handprint that was several feet in size. The moment the handprint appeared, the surrounding space trembled. Waves of mystical aura spread out from Du Xiaofu's body. At this moment, the eyes of all the Yin-Yang school members were filled with indescribable shock. Brilliant star seal! When Du Xiaofu's thunderous voice rang out, he shook his arm, and the handprint instantly shot out. Brilliant talisman runes surged out, as if countless stars were releasing their light, bringing with them a vast aura that covered the sky and covered the earth. This handprint swallowed light, and the surrounding world suddenly fell into the curtain of night. The violent energy affected the space and swallowed light. It was as if an endless starry sky had descended, piercing through time and space. The pressure was unparalleled, suppressing the sky. At this moment, the starry sky spun, and the sky exploded. The void crumbled inch by inch. The explosion was like thunder, lightning flashed, thunder rumbled, and runes surged. Gulp, gulp! Everyone gulped, their hair standing on end. Rumble! In the surrounding area of the Yin balcony, several support runes were on the verge of collapse. The runes shattered, and the great array was shaken, cracking under the impact. Crack, crack! The vast ground of the square cracked continuously, cracks as thick as an arm spreading out like a spider web. Pfft! In the sky, Qi Xingpo's figure flew backward, spitting out blood. Senior, sorry for the offense! When such a voice rang out, golden light shone brightly. A golden figure suddenly appeared in front of Qi Xingpo, who was flying backward. There was a golden radiance shooting out, and a pair of golden winged pingwings appeared in the sky. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's silhouette appeared, activating the golden wings of the great rock. With a flap of the wings, his aura towered up into the sky, as if he was a part of the heavens, connecting with his flesh, blood, tendons, and bones. A terrifying aura surged out, causing even space to tremble. Shaoyang Seal! Stormy Waves Palm! Shaoyin Seal! Lunar Seal! Sky-shaking wings! In an instant, Du Xiaofu seemed to have transformed into a real golden-winged great ping as he soared into the sky. Under the flabbergasted gazes of everyone present, a series of attacks landed on Seven Star Break's body like a torrential downpour. Bang, bang, bang! The speed was too fast, so fast that all the experts could only see a blur. They could only hear low muffled sounds continuously. Chi la la! Then, the light around Seven Star Break's figure dimmed and he was blasted into the sky like lightning. In the end, he smashed into the first mountain outside the plaza. Rumble! Mountains crumbled and the earth cracked. The first mountain peak collapsed and the second mountain peak was destroyed. Wherever Seven Star Break's figure passed, countless mountains were directly destroyed. That kind of terrifying impact was a visual impact that only those who saw it with their own eyes would feel. Too savage! The entire place was dead silent, dumbstruck. The group of Yin-Yang experts, elders, and protectors on the distant mountain peak were all staring with their eyes wide open. Huge rocks rolled down, gravel piled up, and dust filled the sky. Seven Star Break's figure rushed out in a sorry state, his clothes tattered. Poochie! At the same time, Qi Xingpo's hair was disheveled, and the protective armor he had put on at some point in time was cracked beyond recognition. It was dim, and had lost its luster, and blood was seeping out of his body. All of this made Seven Star Break look like a fish with half of its scales pulled out. He was in an extremely sorry state. Du Xiaofu floated in the air, the golden wings of the great ping spread out behind him. His entire body was intact, and his aura was domineering and disdainful. It seemed that the more he fought, the braver he became. Seven Star Break looked at Du Xiaofu from afar. That tall and domineering figure made his eyes twitch at this moment. Senior, thank you for letting me win! Du Xiaofu cupped his fists, and put away the golden wings of the great ping behind him. The purple robe on his back was a little tattered, but it didn't affect his aura at all. Each new generation excels the previous one. This old man has lost, and that's that. Good lad! Seven-Star Break said, then turned around and flew into the sky. Poochie! Just as he flew into the distance, no one saw Seven-Star Break finally spit out a mouthful of blood. He cursed softly. This lad is too ruthless. Seven-Star Break left, but the entire place was still silent and dazed. Everyone knew that Seven-Star Break had been defeated, and he had lost miserably. So cool! A moment later, the eyes of the young women from the school of Yin Yang lit up. They looked at the tall and skinny figure in the air, which contained terrifying energy. Gulp! Countless people swallowed their saliva. To the disciples of the Yin Yang school, one of their supreme patriarchs had been defeated. The Demon King Du Xiaofu had already surpassed his peers by too much. The Demon King Du Xiaofu just you seems to be the glorious star seal of our Yin Yang school. The patriarch lost to it. How does he know the glorious star seal of our Yin Yang school? It's too terrifying. How did he cultivate it? Whispers broke out all around, and everyone's eyes were filled with shock. It was impossible not to be shocked by such a figure floating in the air. This was especially true for the peers of the Yin Yang school. They were originally arrogant, and as disciples of the Yin Yang school, they were born with a sense of superiority and arrogance. They didn't take outsiders seriously, but when they faced that purple-robed figure, they felt as if they were facing a towering mountain that they couldn't cross at all. They didn't even have the courage to climb. He won. On the mountain peak, the Yin Yang powerhouses, elders, and protectors had recovered from their shock, but they were still in disbelief. With their sharp eyes, how could they not see that although Du Xiaofu had used his full strength to defeat Seven-Star Break, it wasn't to the extent of going all out. The difference between the Nirvana reincarnation level and the eternal Nirvana level was like the difference between heaven and earth. However, Du Xiaofu's Nirvana level had defeated the Yin Yang school's eternal Nirvana level, which was already shocking enough. However, Du Xiaofu hadn't really gone all out. This made the entire Yin Yang school powerhouses feel that he was unfathomable. This kid defeated Seven-Star Break with the glorious star seal. He has left some face for the Yin Yang school. Patriarch Star Soul smiled bitterly. He wasn't too surprised by this outcome, but he was deeply shocked. After all, Patriarch Star Soul had seen the battle between Du Xiaofu and Moksha with his own eyes. How terrifying was that? However, Patriarch Star Soul hadn't expected that Du Xiaofu would defeat Seven-Star Break so easily. Du Xiaofu had used the Yin Yang school's glorious star seal to break Seven-Star Break's full-strength attack. This was undoubtedly giving face to the Yin Yang school. If this matter were to spread, Seven-Star Break would also be defeated by the Yin Yang school's glorious star seal. At least, they would be able to regain some face. He won. On the mountain peak, Chi Yeshi's red lips were slightly pursed, and a smile appeared on her face. Her eyes rippled with spiritual light like stars. She tapped the ground with the tip of her foot, and her figure immediately swept forward. In the chaotic space, Du Xiaofu stared ahead. Over there, a familiar figure could be seen flying over. Very quickly she arrived before him. That was a familiar face. Her hair fluttered in the wind, exuding a sense of holiness and majesty that was enough to shock the world. Chapter 1861. Looking at the familiar woman, Du Xiaofu smiled faintly and said, "I'm here." 2 strands of black hair fluttered gently in the wind. Her slender waist, which was wrapped in a long, light green dress, outlined a graceful curve. Chi Yishi stood quietly. Her beauty was not only in her appearance, but also in her temperament and bloodline. Compared to her, there was no lack of beautiful women from the school of Yin Yang in the square, but they would immediately pale in comparison. Chi Yeshi looked at Du Xiaofu and smiled. She was like a real immortal who had descended to the mortal world, untainted by the mortal world. Her delicate red lips parted slightly as she said softly, "Let's go. Follow me to see my father." As soon as she finished speaking, Chi Yeshi pulled Du Xiaofu's hand and placed it in her soft palm. Then, they flew to the mountain peak in the distance. "That's the sage nun. She's telling everyone. Only the Demon King and Du Xiaofu are worthy of our sage nun." Everyone was stunned and whispered to each other. Everyone knew that the sage nun was telling the entire school of Yin Yang that she had made her choice. Greetings, Senior Xinghan. On the mountain peak, Du Xiaofu saw Patriarch Xinghan. His hand was in Qiyeshi's palm, so he could only nod and greet him. You're welcome. Patriarch Xinghan nodded and smiled. The shock in his eyes had yet to fade from his aged face. The group of elders and protectors looked at Du Xiaofu and Qiyeshi, whose fingers were intertwined with Du Xiaofu's, and were inwardly moved. However, no one said anything at this moment. The shock and impact of this purple-robed young man had made these elders and experts of the school of Yin Yang unable to say anything. Qi Mingxuan's gaze also landed on Du Xiaofu. He looked at their intertwined hands with a very calm expression. This is my father. Qiyeshi let go of Du Xiaofu's hand and stood beside Du Xiaofu as she introduced her father. Greetings, Supreme Lord. Du Xiaofu bowed, feeling a little nervous. Du Xiaofu had seen a lot of supremacies from the 9 clans. He had even seen the patriarch of the Phoenix clan. His adoptive father, Jialo Chantian, was also the patriarch of the golden-winged Great Ping clan. None of them were inferior to this supremacy from the Yin Yang supremacy. As for Du Xiaofu's cultivation base, even the high lords of the 9 great clans might not necessarily be able to keep up with him. Therefore, Du Xiaofu's nervousness when facing Qi Mingxian was not because of his cultivation, but because the current supremacy of the Yin Yang school was Qi Yeshi's father, and could be said to be his future father-in-law. This nervousness was innate. There's no need to be so courteous. You're young and extraordinary, and your reputation is well-deserved. Qi Mingxian nodded. As he gazed at the purple-robed man and his daughter, he could only smile bitterly to himself. Truly formidable. Even Granduncle Xingpe was defeated by you. Qi Jiajun stepped forward and patted Du Xiaofu's shoulder with a smile. Granduncle. Du Xiaofu was stunned. That's right. The one who fought with you was my granduncle. Qi Jiajun gazed at Du Xiaofu and deliberately said, Blood granduncle. Du Xiaofu was immediately stunned. Qi Jiajun's blood granduncle was also Qi Yeshi's blood granduncle. Just now, he had not been too courteous. I seem to have been a bit too heavy-handed. Du Xiaofu smiled bitterly in his heart. At the beginning, although he knew that the relationship between Qi Xingpe and Qi Yeshi was not simple, he did not expect that senior Qi Xingpe would actually be Qi Yeshi's blood granduncle. If he had known earlier, he definitely would not have been so heavy-handed. After exchanging some pleasantries, the figures on the mountain peak left, and moved to the main hall of the Yin Yang school. There was no lack of a banquet for the Yin Yang school. Tomorrow morning, you and Yeshi will enter the heavenly stellar secret realm together. After the banquet, under the puzzled gazes of Qi Yeshi and Qi Jiajun, Qi Mingxian summoned Du Xiaofu to the inner hall alone and said to Du Xiaofu, Lord, what is the heavenly stellar secret realm? Du Xiaofu was puzzled and puzzled. You went to the Phoenix clan, the Confucian school, the Taoist school, and now my Yin Yang school. You spent a lot of time in the Confucian school and the Taoist school. I don't think it's just a visit. Qi Mingxian looked at Du Xiaofu and said, If I'm not wrong, one of your goals in the Confucian school and the Taoist school is probably related to comprehension. You didn't come to my Yin Yang school just to visit and see Yeshi, right? Hearing this, Du Xiaofu's eyes fluctuated uncontrollably. This future father-in-law in front of him was definitely not ordinary. But then Du Xiaofu smiled bitterly. None of the lords of the 9 great clans were simple. The heavenly stellar secret realm is very mysterious. There haven't been many people from the Yin Yang school who can enter the heavenly stellar secret realm since ancient times. Speaking of which, I don't have the authority to let you enter the heavenly stellar secret realm. It was arranged by an ancestor of the Yin Yang school. I hope you can gain something inside. You can ask Yeshi about the specific situation, so I won't say more. Qi Mingxian looked at Du Xiaofu and said again, Thank you, Lord. Du Xiaofu thanked him, but he was puzzled. Since he entered the Yin Yang school until now, the Yin Yang school seemed to be faintly mysterious to him. Mountains, courtyard, dusk. My father asked you to accompany me into the heavenly stellar secret realm? In front of the courtyard, at the side of the courtyard, Chiyeshi's eyebrows curved as she looked at the sunset. Her eyes were bright, and there was some doubt in them. What is the heavenly stellar secret realm? Du Xiaofu nodded and asked Chiyeshi. The heavenly stellar secret realm is a mysterious place of the Yin-Yang school. It is said that it came from ancient times and has only been opened a few times since ancient times. Only outstanding juniors who cultivate the star ultimacy can enter it. It is said that there are stars that have fallen from outer space. Absorbing the star's purification can refine one's body, comprehend the ultimacy, and directly increase one's cultivation. Chiyeshi told Du Xiaofu everything about the heavenly stellar secret realm without hiding anything. Du Xiaofu learned everything about the heavenly stellar secret realm from Chiyeshi. The heavenly stellar secret realm was not a good place. It was full of dangers. Some of the disciples of the Yin-Yang school who had entered the heavenly stellar secret realm had died. However, if one could successfully come out of the heavenly stellar secret realm, they would break through the cocoon and become a butterfly. It was impossible for outsiders to enter. However, it is great that you can enter. It is just that there are many dangers inside. Cultivators of the domain realm don't even have the right to enter. Chiyeshi looked at Du Xiaofu. The sunset poured down on her delicate face, making her look particularly charming. I will take care of you. Du Xiaofu looked at the woman in front of him and said with a smile. Who needs you to take care of me? I don't want to be a burden to you. Chiyeshi rolled her eyes at Du Xiaofu. Then, she looked forward and her eyes were blurred. She said softly, I only hope that I cannot be too far away from you. In the past, I was worried that you would come here. But now, I am afraid that one day, I will not be able to catch up with you. Chapter 1862. You're the saintess of the school of Yin-Yang. Du Xiaofu stepped forward and held the woman's hand. Chiyeshi looked at the sunset and said in a low voice, As a member of the school of Yin-Yang, compared to the people outside, the pressure is even greater. There is an inescapable responsibility. Strength naturally has a corresponding price. Du Xiaofu nodded silently. Sigh. Chiyeshi sighed softly, then looked at Du Xiaofu and smiled. Little Star, Little Qing, Little Yao, Little Tiger, and the others? They're all fine. Du Xiaofu didn't hide anything from Chiyeshi and told her the general situation. It's said that the great calamity of the world is coming, and the heavenly devil battlefield is about to open. We all have to increase our strength. Chiyeshi raised her head slightly and looked at the sunset. There was an indescribable feeling in her eyes as she said softly, Sister Mu Xian, Sister Shuang, Qingqing, Muhan, and the others? Du Xiaofu was stunned for a moment before he smiled bitterly to himself. In the divine domain, the woman before him had probably seen through everything. With the Yin-Yang school's ability, and Chiyeshi's status in the Yin-Yang school, she would probably know everything she wanted to know just by asking. I don't want to hide it from you, Du Xiaofu said. There's no need to say anything. I'm just asking if they're okay. There are some things that you don't need to tell me. Chiyeshi turned around and smiled faintly. She seemed to want to laugh, but then she sighed softly and said, But I can tell you that this is all. If there are more in the future, don't say that I won't give you a good time. I believe that they won't give you a good time either. I know. Du Xiaofu felt as if he had been pardoned from a great crime. He pulled the woman into his embrace. Even though he knew that Chiyeshi knew, he didn't know how to bring it up. Now that she had brought it up herself, he felt much more relaxed. Save it! Chiyeshi turned her body and took the opportunity to avoid Du Xiaofu's embrace. She glared at Du Xiaofu and said, Rest here tonight. I have asked someone to prepare a room for you. Tomorrow morning, I will ask you to go to the Heavenly Star secret territory with me. That place is filled with danger, so you must be fully prepared. As soon as she finished speaking, the graceful figure had already entered the courtyard behind her, leaving behind Du Xiaofu with a bitter smile. Looking at the graceful figure, Du Xiaofu's figure flashed and followed behind. At night, the school of Yin-Yang wasn't quiet at all. It was still very lively, and everyone was still discussing the Demon King Du Xiaofu. The battle on the Yin-Yang platform had completely shocked the school of Yin-Yang. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was meditating in his room. Today, he had used up a lot of energy in the battle with 7-Star Breaker. After knowing that the Heavenly Star secret territory was extremely dangerous, he didn't dare to be careless. He needed to be in his best condition. Golden light enveloped the room, and golden talismans rippled. A domineering aura spread out. Du Xiaofu sat cross-legged and meditated. The night passed by slowly. The next day, when the first ray of morning light shone on this ancient land, the vitality of this ancient land was awakened. Phew! The golden light rippled and entered his body like little golden snakes. Du Xiaofu exhaled a mouthful of turbid qi and opened his eyes. There was a dazzling golden light, but it was slowly withdrawn. Creak! After changing into a purple robe, Du Xiaofu opened the door. The familiar woman appeared in front of him, as well as a few women who looked like battle servants. Have you rested enough? It's time to go. Qieshi walked up and gently smoothed out the wrinkles on Du Xiaofu's robes. She appeared gentle and obedient. This scene left the battle servants dumbfounded. If the disciples of the school of Yin-Yang saw this, they would probably be dumbfounded. The dignified saintess of the school of Yin-Yang was actually acting so gentle in front of this purple-robed man. Let's go. Du Xiaofu nodded. Feeling the gentleness, his heart rippled. He took advantage of the situation and gently held her hand in his palm. Whoosh whoosh. After a while, 2 figures flew out of the courtyard and headed towards the depths of the mountain range. The vast mountain range was filled with spiritual qi. In a deep mountain valley, the light was getting dimmer and dimmer. A gloomy aura began to surge out. Those who weren't strong enough couldn't even get close. This is the influence of the Heavenly Star secret territory. The Heavenly Star secret territory is a place of great yin. It can absorb the yin qi of heaven and earth, Qieshi said to Du Xiaofu. What a gloomy place. Du Xiaofu looked around. He cultivated the domineering cultivation method of the Golden-Winged Rock clan. At this moment, he also felt that the gloomy aura could affect the soul. We're here. Qieshi landed in front of a foggy valley. The front was blurred and couldn't see anything. Is this the entrance to the Heavenly Star secret territory? Du Xiaofu looked forward. He didn't feel anything with his mind. Qieshi smiled and then bowed to the void. She said, Junior Yeshi asked the Moon Saint to open the Heavenly Star secret territory. Boom boom boom. When Qieshi finished speaking, the runes in the depths of the void burned brightly. There was a roaring sound that shook the surroundings. In the depths of the blurred space, there was suddenly a burst of light. It was as if a bright moon had risen in the sky. Boom! A space entrance opened. Runes danced in the air. It was as if there were countless stars shooting out. The light was dazzling and flowing, drowning the blurred space. The light covered everything. A terrifying aura rushed out. It probably couldn't affect anyone below the domain realm. Let's go in. Be careful, Qieshi said. She took Du Xiaofu's hand and pushed off the ground with the tip of her foot. Whoosh whoosh. The 2 figures rushed into the space entrance like lightning. They were instantly drowned in the light and disappeared. Whoosh whoosh. The light disappeared. The surroundings were calm. They couldn't see anything. It was as if nothing had happened. I can't see what's behind him. I can't see what's in front of him. Where did he come from? Is the Thunder Martial vein really related to him? A faint voice came from the void. It seemed to have come from across time and space. When everything returned to normal, a graceful figure appeared in the void. This was a hazy woman. Her long skirt fluttered in the wind, and her entire body was suffused with a gentle light. Her face was beautiful and mysterious, and there were several hairpins in her bun. They were like spider webs, and they added a bit of strangeness and mystery to her. Whether you can get a fortune or not depends on yourself. Danger and fortune coexist. This is the will of the heavens. No one can help you. The mysterious woman looked in the direction where Qi Yeshi and Du Xiaofu had disappeared and murmured. Then, the hazy figure disappeared silently in the void. The surroundings were hazy. There were many towering mountains, accompanied by a gloomy aura. There was darkness everywhere. Chapter 1863. White bones could be seen everywhere. These huge skeletons belonged to huge demonic beasts. After countless years, they had become ordinary bones. However, this was not the strangest thing. The most shocking thing was that in the depths of the distant sky, light alternated between bright and dark. There was a falling star hanging in the void of the sky. Occasionally, when the light spread out, an astonishing phenomenon would occur. Just the sight of the falling star hanging in the sky was enough to shock anyone. However, although the star seemed to be hanging in the sky not far away, it was actually very far away. It also had a huge pressure, as if it was going to crush the space. What is that? Is there really a falling star? Looking at this scene, Du Xiaofu couldn't help but sigh. That is a star that fell from the sky in ancient times. It contains endless energy. If one absorbs and comprehends it, they can reach a higher level. Later on, this place was sealed by an ancestor of the school of Yin Yang. Not many people in the world know of its existence. It was obvious that this was Qi Yeshi's first time in this heavenly star secret realm. Looking at the strange phenomenon in the sky, she was also shocked. Whoosh whoosh, then, the two of them flew toward the sky, moving carefully. Whoosh! Suddenly, Qi Yeshi stretched out her hand in midair. Yin and Yang Qi surged out, and a palm print slammed forward. The void trembled and shattered. Squeak squeak, squeak squeak that made people's hearts tremble came from the void. A ferocious energy phantom that looked like a demonic rat appeared. It was the size of a baby, but it was shattered in the void and turned into nothingness. This is the land of Great Yin. Countless remnant souls from ancient times have gathered here. They attached themselves to the stars in the sky and formed some intelligence. They turned into evil beings and devoured each other to cultivate. It is said that some of the powerful evil beings here have already stepped into the domain realm. The closer they are to the stars in the sky, the stronger they are. Qi Yeshi said to Du Xiaofu seriously. This is because this space is sealed and also because of the strange phenomenon of the stars in the sky. These evil beings are born with insufficient intelligence and cannot evolve into demonic beasts. However, they are still powerful and brutal. They are extremely difficult to deal with, so we have to be careful. Yes. Du Xiaofu nodded. No wonder it was said that the heavenly star secret realm was incomparably dangerous. He had actually failed to detect the appearance of that evil thing just now. This showed how strange it was. Du Xiaofu's consciousness spread out, and the power of the scarlet demonic monkey's primordial spirit surged out of his mind, along with the power of spiritual thunder. There were several types of spiritual thunder that were of extreme yang, and he believed that they could suppress these evil beings of the Great Yin. Boom! A moment later, Du Xiaofu waved his hand and extended it in front of a gorge. It was accompanied by electric arcs. The distorted space in front of his palm was wrapped by electric arcs, revealing the image of a ferocious exotic beast struggling in fear. It was only 1 meter in size, but it emitted an extremely frightening cold force. Is this the evil thing? Du Xiaofu imprisoned him and carefully observed him. These evil things have countless transformations, but they all carry traces of the ancient remnant souls when they were alive. Qi Yeshi said. If it's a remnant soul, then I should be able to absorb it. As Du Xiaofu pondered, a thought passed through his mind. Suddenly, a silver-colored electric arc surged out from the fluctuating electric arc. It was accompanied by a vast and mighty force as it landed below the ferocious strange beast's illusory figure. As if it was a natural enemy, it shattered and devoured the strange beast's illusory figure. Finally, it rushed into Du Xiaofu's palm, transforming into a wave of energy that directly charged into the Naiwen Palace in his mind. A smile appeared on Du Xiaofu's face. The silver net soul-devouring thunder in his body could indeed devour these remnant souls. These evil beings of the Great Yin had developed intelligence, and changed over a long period of time, but they were still remnant souls. Then, the two of them continued forward. The evil beings they encountered became stronger and stronger, and their numbers also increased. Oh, a dozen ferocious wolves rushed out of the dark gorge and surrounded Du Xiaofu and Qi Yeshi. However, these evil beings were like moths to a flame. They were no match for Du Xiaofu and Qi Yeshi at all. Du Xiaofu used the silver net soul-devouring thunder to devour these evil beings, then used the mysterious remnant cultivation method to refine them. He immediately felt the power of his primordial spirit increase. Although the speed of this increase was very slow, it was much faster than normal cultivation. They continued forward and passed through a vast space. However, they were also attacked by more and more powerful evil beings. Oh, a huge energy body of a giant bear roared. It had long fangs, and a terrifying cold aura swept out like a storm. It's at least at the sealed domain realm. Qi Yeshi was surprised. They had been in the Heavenly Star secret realm for more than 10 hours. This was undoubtedly the strongest evil energy body they had encountered so far. The evil energy body roared, and its aura could corrode the souls of living beings. Its terrifying eyes were fixed on Du Xiaofu and Qi Yeshi, then it pounced on them. A cold wind swept out, and the void trembled under the pressure. "Evil creature," Du Xiaofu said. He used the silver net soul-devouring thunder to kill it and devour it. Qi Yeshi did not attack. Although these evil beings were powerful, she was not worried at all with Du Xiaofu's current strength and cultivation. Moreover, several types of spiritual thunder in his body could naturally suppress these evil beings. Oh, whoa! A few hours later, a few roars came from the dark gorge. Several colorful and ferocious energy bodies of ferocious beasts rushed out. They did not recognize them at all, but they were terrifyingly powerful. They suppressed the void and pounced on Du Xiaofu and Qi Yeshi. "They're so strong! They're at the great domain realm." Qi Yeshi's heart trembled. These evil beings had not even reached the outer star land, but they had already reached such a level. Moreover, several of them had rushed out together. It was no wonder that many supremes of the Yin-Yang school who had entered the Heavenly Star secret realm had died. Rumble! Du Xiaofu attacked and activated the silver net soul-devouring thunder. These evil energy bodies were extremely powerful, but they were far from being comparable to Du Xiaofu's current strength. However, it took Du Xiaofu some time before they were all destroyed. With the silver net soul-devouring thunder and the mysterious incomplete cultivation technique, Du Xiaofu needed some time to devour and refine these energy bodies. After all, these energy bodies were already very powerful. The two of them found a flat and safe place. Du Xiaofu sat down cross-legged and began to refine the energy bodies he had devoured. His whole body was shrouded in a white divine light with silver electric arcs rippling. Not far away, Qi Yeshi sat cross-legged and looked at the man shrouded in white divine light with a smile on her face. Then, she closed her eyes slightly to protect him. The surroundings were quiet, and there seemed to be no danger. However, Qi Yeshi was not careless. She released her consciousness to the surrounding void. Once an evil being approached, she would immediately discover it. Chapter 1864. Inside the Heavenly Star secret realm, the light was dim. The fallen stars hovered in the horizon as if they were right in front of their eyes. Time passed slowly. It was so quiet that one could hear the sound of the wind. Qi Yeshi sat cross-legged with her eyes closed. She had maintained this state for a very long time. Du Xiaofu sat cross-legged not far away. His yuan spirit aura rippled around him. Light flashed and arcs of electricity rippled, illuminating the surroundings in this dim space. At some point in time, there were faint ripples in the sky. Something seemed to be moving in the distance. Sizzle! At this moment, Qi Yeshi suddenly opened her eyes. Starlight rippled in the depths of her eyes. Yin and Yang Qi flowed around her body. The figure sitting cross-legged suddenly shot out. The beautiful figure spun in the sky strangely. Her slender waist under her long dress was so small that it could not be grasped with one hand. Her delicate body seemed ethereal in the sky. She formed a palm print with her slender hand. Mysterious runes rippled and even the air seemed to be frozen. Bang! As the palm print landed, the space in front of her exploded. Countless strands of cold energy suddenly shot out from the sky, carrying with them the ripples of runes. Woo-woo! Countless strands of cold energy accompanied by runes instantly turned into a tornado. It swept through the sky with a strange woo-woo sound as it swept towards Chieshi. Evil being, how dare you! At the same time, Chiishi's xianqi wrapped around her body. As yin and yang qi fluctuated, a series of hand seals quickly condensed. A small energy storm seemed to have formed in her delicate palm. A dazzling energy rune swept out from the cold energy storm and passed through space. Woo-woo! The shattered strands of cold energy let out a strange ear-piercing sound. The strands of cold energy seemed to turn into chains. They shone with dazzling runes and appeared in front of Chieshi in the blink of an eye. Break! Chieshi's hand seals changed. Starlight condensed around her body and blocked the strange energy chains. The strange energy chain pierced through the void, spreading a terrifying aura. It was as if it was alive, trying to pierce through the starlight energy. These evil energies exuded an aura that was difficult to resist. If one were to come into contact with them, no matter how strong one's physical body was, it would be enough to pierce a bloody hole. In front of Chieshi, starlight and rune energy spread out, suppressing the strange evil power. So strong! However, the intensity of the evil energy caused Chiishi's expression to change. Her starry eyes were filled with shock. At the same time, Chieshi's hand seals changed again. Starlight and runes intertwined to form a claw print in the void. Yin and yang qi circulated above the claw. Suddenly, it grabbed at the evil chains and accurately caught the evil chains in its palm. A blazing talisman rune surged and crushed the chains into nothingness. Chi-la-la! Numerous claw imprints swept out, and her figure was graceful. In an instant, the evil chains were all destroyed by Chi-Yi-Shi. Boom! But at the same time, a terrifying cold energy emitted a dark gray light in the void. It was like a waterfall, but it was the size of a mountain. There was a chilling light on it, and it was serrated. It was frighteningly sharp. It pierced through the void, and the space rippled as it rushed toward Chieshi. Chiishi's figure traversed the void. Her graceful figure was like a bolt of lightning, and she narrowly avoided the energy waterfall. The energy waterfall retracted, and at the same time, a huge and terrifying energy body appeared in the void. It was a huge lizard-like demonic beast. It was like a mountain in the sky. It had only stretched out its tongue, and its entire body was covered with ferocious barbs. Its eyes emitted a frightening light, and the ripples in the void undulated as a vortex appeared. It's really strong. When such a ferocious beast energy body appeared, Chi-Yi couldn't help but be shocked. That terrifying aura made her not dare to be careless. Woo-woo! The ferocious beast energy body emitted an ear-piercing sound and emitted a dazzling gray light. The spatial ripples in the surroundings became denser, and it pounced towards Chi-Yi again. Evil creature, do you still want to overturn the heavens? Chi-Yi's expression turned serious. Her eyes shone brightly as she waved her hand. Dazzling energy runes were released, and the energy of heaven and earth rippled. Her delicate hands formed a seal, and a ferocious tiger shadow pounced out. It erupted with terrifying energy, and the yin and yang energies whistled. Hua-la-la! The two collided and turned into rune energy that filled the sky. In the end, the runes shattered and spread out. However, the ferocious tiger shadow was completely shattered. After the ferocious beast energy body was shattered, it condensed again. Its aura was even more tyrannical. Its huge body stretched across the sky, and its cold aura was extremely frightening. Rumble! Suddenly, a silver thunderbolt shot up from below and rapidly struck the ferocious beast shadow. It turned into dazzling electric arcs that filled the sky. Woo-woo! The ferocious beast emitted an ear-piercing sound. It seemed to be restrained by some kind of power. Its ferocious eyes surged with fear, and its huge body of energy immediately shattered. It turned into a stream of light and instantly disappeared in the air. Chi! Silver electric arcs rippled, and a purple-robed man appeared in the air. It was Du Xiaofu, who had been startled awake. Are you all right? Du Xiaofu came to Qi Yishi's side and withdrew his gaze from the distance. He had no intention of chasing after her, but there was a trace of surprise in the depths of his eyes. The energy body just now was not weak. I'm fine. How's your refining? Qi Yishi looked at Du Xiaofu and smiled. Although the energy body was powerful, it could not do anything to her. I've finished refining. My soul has gained some benefits. Du Xiaofu had not hidden anything from Qi Yishi. These energy bodies had been refined by him, and they could strengthen the power of his soul. During the time in the Heavenly Star Secret Realm, he had absorbed those cold energy bodies and refined them. In terms of soul power, Du Xiaofu had indeed gained great benefits. Perhaps in the outside world, Du Xiaofu had a mysterious cultivation method. Even if he cultivated normally for dozens of years, it would be difficult for him to gain such benefits. Who? Hearing this, Qi Yishi secretly clicked her tongue. Soul power was the most difficult to cultivate. Not to mention martial cultivators, even talisman masters were the same. But this guy in front of her was actually able to refine those cold energy bodies and strengthen his soul. If the talisman masters in the outside world knew about this, how shocked would they be? Even the elders of the school of Yin Yang would be stunned if they knew. However, Qi Yishi was not too surprised. She did not find anything strange about Du Xiaofu. What could be more shocking than him coming back from the dead in Stone City? She had witnessed it with her own eyes and was also one of the participants. It does seem a little strange. Then, Qi Yishi looked at the distant sky and muttered to herself with a solemn expression. That's right. Qi Yishi muttered to herself as she looked into the distance. What's wrong? Du Xiaofu asked Qi Yishi. Something doesn't seem right. Although the evil beings in the Heavenly Star Secret Territory have intelligence, their intelligence is not complete. They shouldn't have run away, but the evil beings just now ran away. Qi Yishi felt an inexplicable worry in her heart. Don't think too much. The evil beings that ran away are fine. Du Xiaofu did not pay too much attention to it. Although the evil beings that had just escaped were strong, they were not strong enough to make him fearful. These evil beings had spiritual intelligence. Although their spiritual intelligence was not complete, it was not surprising that they could escape. I hope I'm overthinking it. Qi Yishi smiled. She also hoped that she was overthinking it. Looking at the stars in the sky in front of her, the light flickered and alternated between light and dark. The vast Qi was getting denser and denser. She opened her red lips slightly, raised her hands, and stretched her waist. The graceful curve of her body suddenly became lazy and charming. She said, It's not far now. Let's go. I'm here. Du Xiaofu nodded. Looking at the lazy and charming curve of her body, he could not help but be a little dazed. However, he also hoped to reach the stars as soon as possible. As soon as he finished speaking, he waved his hand and walked forward. Qi Yishi smiled and moved her feet slightly. Profound qi gushed out, and followed closely behind him. The further they went, the greater the pressure of the stars in front of them. It made it more and more difficult for them to fly in the sky. It consumed a lot of their strength. It did not take long for them to feel exhausted. The Heavenly Star Secret Realm was extremely boring and there were dangers everywhere. However, the two of them did not feel that. Instead, they felt that time was passing very quickly. Along the way, they encountered more and more evil energy bodies. The closer they got to the stars, the more powerful the evil energy bodies attacked them. Most of these evil energy bodies were attacked by Du Xiaofu. Qi Yishi wanted to help, but she was not as fast as Du Xiaofu. Qi Yishi also knew that these energy bodies would be of great benefit to Du Xiaofu. Therefore, she did not bother to interfere. Du Xiaofu became more and more familiar with these evil energy bodies. With the help of the Silvernet soul-devouring lightning, he could easily deal with them, no matter how strong they were. The most powerful evil energy attack they had encountered so far was from 3-domain realm strange beasts. Their attacks were strange and unpredictable. Coupled with the special characteristics of their energy bodies, Du Xiaofu had to expend a lot of effort to deal with them. Even with Qi Yeshi's help, the silvernet soul-devouring lightning was able to absorb all of them. Roar! On a dark mountain, Du Xiaofu and Qi Yishi were resting. Suddenly, there was a loud roar that sounded like thunder. Then, a huge ferocious ape pounced out of the void. It carried a mighty and terrifying aura that could shatter the void. Its huge clenched fist pierced through the void and blasted toward Du Xiaofu and Qi Yishi. "You're courting death!" Du Xiaofu suddenly woke up and opened his eyes. Silver arcs of lightning dazzled his eyes. His figure instantly rushed out. A fist that was wrapped in rolling silvernet soul-devouring lightning charged toward the ape and collided fiercely. Bang bang! The collision sounded like thunder. Formation arcs of lightning rippled and the ferocious ape's arm was instantly shattered. Its huge figure staggered back. Chapter 1865. The arm of the ferocious ape that had been smashed to pieces was then regenerated amidst the dark gray runes. Its ferocious eyes stared closely at Du Xiaofu, rippling violently. "An evil creature at the master region level!" Du Xiaofu's eyes rippled as he looked at the huge ferocious ape. This evil creature's energy body had actually reached the master region level. It was undoubtedly the strongest evil energy body he had encountered along the way. "This evil energy body is different. Be careful." Qi Yeshi arrived at Du Xiaofu's side and frowned slightly when she sensed the power of the ferocious ape's energy body. Take care of yourself," Du Xiaofu said to Qi Yeshi. "Human, you're courting death." As Du Xiaofu's voice fell, the ferocious ape spoke in human language. Its huge body carried a terrifying cold aura as it condensed a fist. The cold aura runes intertwined and enveloped Du Xiaofu like a storm. "Let's see who's going to die." Du Xiaofu's purple robes fluttered as his hand seals changed quietly. A palm print met the ferocious ape's attack with lightning, accompanied by silver arcs of electricity. Bang! As the collision exploded, the ripples in the air dissipated in an arc. The ferocious ape's fist was shattered by Du Xiaofu once again. Whoosh! The ferocious ape's body was pushed back. Its arm that had been smashed by Du Xiaofu attempted to regenerate at the same time. "Break for me!" Du Xiaofu's figure was like a ghost, drifting like a deity. Suddenly, golden light burst out, and the sky-shaking wings flapped out. Boom! A peerlessly overbearing and fierce aura swept out as layer upon layer of golden talisman markings swept out like the golden wings of a rock. Under the instinctive terror in the ferocious ape's eyes, the ferocious ape's body was directly shattered by the sky-shaker wings. Although Du Xiaofu hadn't used any of his final killing moves in this attack, he didn't hold back at all. This evil ferocious ape's energy body was extraordinary. However, it could be said that Du Xiaofu's current strength was unlikely to find anyone below the Saint Realm who could match him. This evil ferocious ape's energy body was clearly not enough. Whoosh! The ferocious ape was shattered. The cold energy whistled like a tornado, the wind, and the clouds as it appeared in the sky. "You can't escape!" Du Xiaofu raised his head and electric arcs surged out of his eyes. Suddenly, a bolt of silver lightning shot out from his forehead. Chi! The silver lightning pierced through the void, and a mighty pressure descended, causing the void to tremble. Then, silver lightning spread out in all directions, as if the void had turned into a silver sea of lightning. Natural. Why? Phew! Du Xiaofu took a deep breath when the last Yin energy body was completely devoured. A smile appeared on his resolute face. Once he completely refined such a powerful Yin energy body, the benefits he would obtain would definitely not be small. We're almost there. Hopefully, there won't be any stronger evil creatures ahead. Qi Yeshi's brows were still furrowed as she stared at the stars floating in the void. The pressure was getting stronger and stronger. Now that they had encountered a domain realm evil energy entity, Qi Yeshi knew that if Du Xiaofu hadn't been by her side this time, it would have been extremely dangerous for her to enter this place. She definitely wouldn't have had it so easy. The closer they got to the outer star, the stronger the evil energy became. She couldn't help but worry that even stronger evil energy would appear. If a stronger evil energy appeared, the consequences would be extremely troublesome. The outer star, we're finally almost there. Du Xiaofu wasn't nervous, nor was he too worried. Instead, he looked at the outer star floating not far ahead. It was like a bright moon hanging above his head, as if it was within his reach. The terrifying pressure made one's heart feel like it was being crushed by 1,000 tons of force. Just looking at it would make one feel breathless. This made Du Xiaofu even more expectant. The outer star was definitely a treasure. Whoosh whoosh, the two continued forward. As the pressure grew stronger, it became more and more difficult for them to fly in the air. In the end, as a precaution, the two decided to fly at a low altitude to conserve their strength. Du Xiaofu and Qi Yeshi were cautious along the way. However, the strange thing was that as they got closer to the outer star, the two of them didn't encounter any more evil energy entities. A few hours later, the two of them rested on the mountain top and prepared to return to their peak state before setting off again. Phew! Exhaling a mouthful of turbid qi, Qi Yeshi withdrew her hand seal and stood up. Looking ahead, she said, "We're almost there." As Qi Yeshi stood up, Du Xiaofu leapt up. The golden light retracted, and the light in his eyes dimmed. He immediately arrived beside Qi Yeshi, looking ahead with ripples in his eyes. In front of them was a chain of mountains. The outer star was alternating between light and darkness. It was like a bright moon falling from the sky. The light flickered and was dazzling. The vast might caused Du Xiaofu's heart to tremble even with his current cultivation. Even from a distance, he could feel a terrifying energy ripple contained within the stars in the sky. So that's the outer star? Du Xiaofu rubbed his hands, and a blazing light appeared in his eyes. After running around in the heavenly star secret realm for so long, they were finally going to reach the outer star. I keep feeling that something is strange. It's been a long time since I've encountered those evil energy entities. Qi Yeshi had been worried all this time. They were getting closer and closer to the outer star, but they hadn't seen any evil energy entities for a long time. This was completely different from what the elders in her family had warned her about. Qi Yeshi couldn't help but worry. We'll deal with whatever comes our way. Just be careful, said Du Xiaofu. That's the only way. Be careful, said Qi Yeshi. Let's go. Du Xiaofu smiled. He tapped the ground with the tip of his foot, and a golden light shot out from the soles of his feet. His figure turned into a golden ray of light, and he shot toward the outer star like a bolt of lightning. Qi Yeshi followed closely behind him. The mountains were vast, but with Du Xiaofu and Qi Yeshi's speed, they appeared at the end of the mountains in a moment. The floating outer star seemed to be even larger at this moment. It was like the bright moon had fallen in front of them. It was incomparably vast, and its terrifying aura was majestic and intimidating. However, just as the two of them reached the end of the mountain range and saw the land of stars in front of them, the void in front of them suddenly trembled incessantly. Then, a series of ear-piercing roars sounded from the void above. Whoosh! In a short moment, a cold aura appeared above the void like a gust of wind, causing the void to tremble. The cold aura shrouded the sky and covered the sun. It even covered the light above the outer star. Under the ear-piercing roar, waves of cold energy appeared above the void like tornadoes. Then, many ferocious energy entities appeared. Humans, you're courting death! The roar resounded, and a loud laughter like rolling thunder descended from the void. It shook the void, and ripples spread out like ripples. Chapter 1866. A dark red figure appeared in front of the many malevolent energy bodies. It was a middle-aged man dressed in dark red battle armor. He was standing on the back of a huge, malevolent lizard-like energy body. The lizard-like energy body was like a mountain in the sky. Its extended tongue was covered in serrated teeth, and its entire body was covered in sinister barbs. Its eyes shone with a frightening light, and the void around it rippled as a vortex appeared. This lizard-like energy body was the one that had escaped from Qi Yeshi and Du Xiaofu not long ago. A large number of malevolent energy bodies floated in the void, and behind them was the huge outer star. The malevolent energy bodies roared at the sky, and a chilling aura filled the sky. Strange runes filled the air, and it was extremely frightening. This scene also caused Du Xiaofu and Qieshi to stop in their tracks. Looking at the malevolent energy bodies in front of them and feeling the chilling aura that filled the sky, surprise flashed in their eyes. They couldn't help but be moved. In particular, the middle-aged man in battle armor standing on the back of the malevolent lizard-like energy body made Du Xiaofu raise his eyebrows. That terrifying chilling aura filled the air. Compared to the energy body of the ferocious ape that they had killed and devoured several hours ago, which was no weaker than the domain realm, it was far more powerful. Why are there so many evil energy bodies? Qiyeshi's expression changed. At this moment, there were no less than a few hundred evil energy bodies in front of them. They were all malevolent beasts, and many of them were extremely large. According to what Qiyeshi knew, the closer one was to the outer star, the stronger the evil spirits would be. However, this also made other evil spirits not dare to approach. These evil spirits were all devouring each other to strengthen themselves. Therefore, it was almost impossible for them to gather together on such a large scale. At this moment, sensing the vast and terrifying cold aura, apart from the middle-aged energy body in the lead, Qi Yishi also looked behind the middle-aged energy body in the battle armor. There was a huge black dragon and a huge gray python behind the middle-aged man in battle armor. Their auras distorted the space around them. They were no weaker than the young man in battle armor, and they were no weaker than the ferocious ape that Du Xiaofu had killed not too long ago. An evil energy body that is no weaker than the Overlord realm. Du Xiaofu stared at the middle-aged energy body in shock. This was the first time he had seen an energy body that had taken a human form in the Heavenly Star Secret Realm, and from Du Xiaofu's aura, Du Xiaofu felt that it was no weaker than the Lord Realm. It was probably not something an ordinary Lord Realm cultivator could compare to. It was not something an ordinary Lord Realm cultivator could compare to. The domain realm. Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows slightly when he sensed the aura of the black dragon and the grayish-white python behind the middle-aged energy form. There were also several hundred other energy bodies gathered together. None of their auras were weak. It looks like something really has happened. Du Xiaofu licked his lips after looking around. This large group of evil energy bodies did not make Du Xiaofu too fearful. On the contrary, his eyes surged with a blazing fighting spirit. We're in trouble. Qiyeshi spoke from Du Xiaofu's side. She frowned. She knew that a fierce battle was unavoidable from the dense group of evil energy bodies hovering in the sky. It was no wonder that sovereigns from the school of Yin Yang had died here in the past. Even the elders of the school of Yin Yang would struggle to deal with so many evil energy bodies, especially the ones at the front. The several hundred evil energy bodies hovered in the air. The huge black dragon and the huge gray python stared at Du Xiaofu and Qiyeshi. Their huge, ferocious eyes were chilling. The middle-aged man in dark red battle robes stepped on the evil lizard energy body. His battle robes fluttered slightly, and the void around him was distorted. A terrifying cold aura was released like a storm. The middle-aged energy body looked quite handsome and even had a hint of evil charm. It was as if he had walked out of hell. It's been a long time since a human came here. You seem to be quite strong, but you can't leave now that you're here. Killing you should be able to help me advance further. The middle-aged energy body in battle robes spoke in a faint voice. His eyes swept over Du Xiaofu and Qiyeshi as if he was sizing up his prey. It was obvious that the middle-aged energy body was the leader of these evil energy bodies. He should be the strongest. I'm afraid you're not strong enough to kill us. However, I should be able to benefit a lot from killing you. Du Xiaofu looked at the middle-aged energy body in battle robes, smiled, and said softly, Is that so? We'll know once we try. Hearing Du Xiaofu's words, the smile on the face of the middle-aged energy body in battle robes slowly froze, and a sinister look appeared on his face. As his voice fell, his figure abruptly shot out from the back of the evil lizard energy body, and his figure abruptly disappeared as if he had vanished into thin air. Be careful! Just as the middle-aged energy body disappeared, Du Xiaofu's voice immediately sounded. At the same time, Du Xiaofu narrowed his eyes and stepped forward. Almost at the same time, he blasted a punch into the void in front of him. Boom! The punch rippled with golden light and shattered the void. Chi! As the void rippled, a cold aura emerged from the depths of the void and turned into a fierce claw. It pierced through the void like 5 sharp swords, and wherever it passed, pitch-black cracks appeared. Not weak! Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows. The energy body in the lead was indeed not weak, and he didn't feel like this energy body was lacking in intelligence. While secretly surprised, Du Xiaofu's hand seals changed. Profound qi surged, and runes gushed out. The fist in his hand turned into a palm, and the palm print shone with golden light. This was the Shaoyang seal. It was extremely strong and domineering, and it collided with the attack. Rumble! A muffled sound rang out in the void as the cold energy and the golden light shot out. This kind of collision instantly made the void feel as if it was about to shatter. Chi! In the shattered void, the middle-aged energy body in battle robes strangely appeared. His eyes were sinister, and his figure appeared in front of Du Xiaofu like a bolt of black lightning. A cold aura pierced through the void like a thunderbolt, and appeared in front of Du Xiaofu's forehead in an instant. The cold aura was extremely sinister, and carried a terrifying aura. The surrounding void was faintly discernible and shattered. His speed is really fast. Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows. This evil energy body was powerful, and his speed was strange. He didn't dare to be careless. A silver arc of lightning rushed out from between his eyebrows. It was dazzling and blazing, and it instantly collided with the cold aura. A vast aura of thunder erupted. It was the silver net soul-devouring thunder, the nemesis of the cold aura. It easily resisted the cold aura. The middle-aged man in battle robes let out a soft sound of surprise. He seemed to have sensed something, and his figure floated in the void in a daze. Chapter 1867. Spirit Thunder Aura. Then, he looked at Du Xiaofu. The middle-aged man in the dark red battle suit narrowed his eyes, and there was fear in his eyes. You don't look like you're lacking intelligence, Du Xiaofu said. Judging from the middle-aged man's reaction, he definitely didn't look like someone lacking intelligence. Humph, you have spirit thunder, huh? You've delivered yourself to me. Even the heavens are on my side. Hiding the fear in his eyes, the middle-aged energy body in the battle suit stared at Du Xiaofu with a hint of passion in his gloomy eyes. As soon as he finished speaking, he waved his hand and a bestial roar rang out. Kill! Roar! As soon as the middle-aged man's voice fell, the void shook violently. The roar was ear-piercing, and terrifying auras erupted. The cold aura swept out like a tidal wave, and the runes and cold aura soared into the sky and covered the sun. Roar! The energy bodies of the black dragon and the grayish-white python had already taken the lead to attack Du Xiaofu and Qi Yeshi. That ferocious lizard energy body and hundreds of evil energy bodies followed closely behind. They came crushing down in a mighty manner. Even Du Xiaofu couldn't help but frown when he saw this scene. This was especially true for the black dragon and the gray python. Both of their auras were at least at the domain realm. In the outside world, such strength was enough to shake the entire 9 provinces. Be careful! Du Xiaofu reminded Qi Yeshi. As soon as his voice fell, he leaped out first. Golden light erupted as the great rock's chaos-crushing claw distorted the void and grabbed at the black dragon energy body with unparalleled force. At the same time, dazzling runes spread out from Qi Yeshi's body. Yin and yang auras surged and shrouded her. Her clothes fluttered, and the multicolored light around her body was like the fluctuations of stars. She had an extraordinary and holy aura. With a wave of her wrist, she formed a hand seal. Mysterious runes surged out of this hand seal. It was like the light of the stars in the night sky. A vast aura covered the sky and covered the earth, directly suppressing the grayish-white python. This was the brilliant star seal. Chiyeshi did not hold back and used her full strength. The terrifying hand seal swallowed the void and suppressed the sky as it collided with the grayish-white python. The energy body of the python was not ordinary. It hissed savagely, its scarlet tongue flicking, and cold energy billowed out of its bloody mouth. It blocked Chiyeshi's brilliant star seal. Hiss! The giant tail tore through the air and shot out from the broken runes like a bolt of lightning, instantly arriving in front of Chiyeshi. The grayish-white python's Yeshi. Chiyeshi's body was wrapped in starlight, and a handprint quickly condensed. A small energy storm seemed to have formed in her delicate palm, and a dazzling energy rune swept out from the energy storm. It seemed to have passed through space, and finally shot toward the huge tail. The two collided in an instant. The giant tail was pierced through by Chiyeshi, but a terrifying wave of frigid energy erupted and transformed into a storm. The grayish-white runes burned brightly, and the cold energy spread out like a raging tide. Chiyeshi retreated rapidly, but she was also affected. She staggered back, and the starlight on her body dimmed. Her beautiful face changed color. Boom! Du Xiaofu shattered the black dragon with a claw and landed beside Chiyeshi. The shattered black dragon energy body recovered after being caught. It roared savagely, and its eyes were filled with unwillingness. Are you okay? Du Xiaofu asked Chiyeshi. He waved his purple robe, and golden light rushed out, protecting the surrounding void. I'm fine. But there are too many evil creatures. We have to fight a fierce battle. Chiyeshi stabilized her body and looked at the densely packed malevolent energy bodies with a grave expression. Oh! After a short pause, the malevolent lizard energy body and the densely packed evil energy bodies arrived in an instant. Halala! Du Xiaofu waved his hand fiercely, and a domineering and ferocious aura suddenly spread out from his body and swept out, causing the space to tremble. A faint golden light gushed out, and the golden talisman's secret patterns flickered and condensed, forming an arc-shaped golden space dent around his palm. It was densely packed and layered, like the golden wings of a golden-winged rock. As Du Xiaofu's hand seal streaked across the space, golden light burst out and illuminated the sky. It was like a golden bomb had exploded in the void in front of him. Rumble! Golden runes overflowed and waves of air surged. A large area of space was swept away, leaving behind traces of a vacuum. It was a terrifying scene. The terrifying golden energy was incomparably domineering, and it was like a shock wave in the void. Many of the evil energy bodies were powerful, but they were also drowned by the golden shock wave. Awoo! Many screams and roars were heard. Many energy bodies were shattered, and the lizard energy body was the first to be shattered. Du Xiaofu's purple robe fluttered, and golden light surged out of his eyes. His aura was domineering. However, the evil energy body that had been shattered was soon restored to its original state. Humans, you won't be able to struggle for long! The middle-aged energy body in dark red armor sneered and stared greedily at Du Xiaofu and Chiyeshi. He said in a sharp and eerie voice, "Kill them! Kill them!" The black dragon, the grey python, the ferocious lizard, and the other energy bodies rushed out again, roaring like thunder and stirring up the clouds. Don't worry about me. I can protect myself for a while. Chiyeshi frowned and looked serious. She didn't want to distract Du Xiaofu. She had entered the Heavenly Star secret realm. With her identity, the Yin-Yang school had also prepared. She had brought some trump cards with her, so she could at least protect herself for a while. Okay, you can protect yourself. Leave the rest to me. Du Xiaofu spoke. He raised his head slightly and looked at the raging tide of energy that was charging towards him once again. With a thought, ancient runes immediately rippled around his body and connected to each other in 8 directions. They transformed into a dazzling divine ring that spread out in all directions. This was the 8 trigrams diagram. Du Xiaofu didn't hold back in the face of the evil energy bodies that blotted out the sky. Rumble! Suddenly, the void rumbled, and there was a sonorous sound of wind and thunder. The 8 trigrams diagram had the roars of thousands of beasts, thunder, mountains, lakes, wind, rain, thunder, and lightning alternating. The sun, moon, and stars changed, and mountains and rivers moved. When the 8 trigrams diagram appeared, it enveloped the surroundings and spread out for thousands of feet. Du Xiaofu was like a holy spirit in the sky. His invisible aura made people tremble in fear, and it also enveloped the middle-aged man in battle armor. The middle-aged energy body in dark red armor trembled, and fear surged in his eyes. The black dragon and the gray python were also frozen in the void and couldn't move an inch in the 8 trigrams diagram. The other energy bodies were also frozen, and fear surged in their terrifying eyes. Break. Numerous strange hand seals condensed. When Du Xiaofu let out a shout, the 8 trigrams diagram underwent a transformation. Lightning and stars descended, as well as raging flames, the roars of 10,000 beasts, lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled. A vast pressure appeared in the air, as though it was capable of annihilation, enveloping this part of the world. Rumble, the whole void boiled, and the world resonated. The world of the secret realm was also vast and turbulent. Dazzling runes were like a sea, surging with stormy waves. At this moment, the ferocious energy bodies collapsed inch by inch under the terrible power. Then, the ferocious lizard energy body, the gray python, and the black dragon all collapsed one after another. Damned human! The middle-aged energy body in dark red armor roared. His body suddenly swelled in the 8 trigrams diagram, spreading out and covering the sky. A cold aura surged, and dark red light flickered with a cold luster. The runes blazed. In an instant, a cold wind blew in the void, and the sound of ghosts crying and gods howling was ear-splitting. A cold aura rolled down from the sky and hung in the void. It was as if the gates of hell had been opened. At this moment, the middle-aged energy body had become hundreds of meters tall. It was ferocious and frightening. It was dark red like blood, like a ghost king. That terrifying aura made all living creatures tremble. Kill! The giant phantom spoke with a deafening ghostly voice. With a wave of his hand, countless cold bolts swept out like lightning, tearing the void apart. They turned into energy ripples and swept out like a vast ocean. In the end, they condensed into a terrifying dark red blood seal. Woo-woo! This blood seal was shot out. The bloody color overflowed and crushed the void. It was as if a sea of blood was falling. It was incomparably terrifying. Within the 8 trigrams diagram, Du Xiaofu only raised his head slightly, and then raised his right hand. In an instant, the void was hazy, lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled. A vision appeared in the sky like a god. Without a sound, Du Xiaofu slapped out with his palm. There were traces of the 8 trigrams on his palm that condensed in the void. It continuously collided with the blood-colored palm, bringing with it a kind of indescribable power. Chi-la! This kind of collision suddenly released a bright light. It was as if a calm and vast sea had suddenly exploded. The runes were shattered, and the waves were magnificent. The blood seal dissipated as soon as it came into contact. It was directly shattered. The giant phantom also shattered. The momentum was irresistible. Human, you can't destroy me! However, as the giant phantom shattered, the monstrous cold energy began to condense again. It even devoured the shattered cold energy in the surroundings, wanting to continue to condense the giant phantom. It's not difficult to destroy you, Du Xiaofu said. As his voice fell, a silver arc of lightning swept out from between his eyebrows. Boom! Boom! Suddenly, a shocking scene appeared. A shocking white lightning directly pierced through the void and silently appeared around Du Xiaofu. The silver-white arc of lightning spread out and instantly enveloped the void. The rumbling sound of thunder resounded in the void. The palpitating white lightning intertwined, and a terrifying pressure spread out from it. It was filled with an aura that could destroy one's primordial spirit. The arc of lightning surged and turned into a giant silver-white lightning tree. It was like a demon god in the sky, erupting with earth-shattering lightning. It was as if heavenly lightning had descended, punishing all life. It bloomed branches and scattered leaves, covering the 8 trigrams diagram in the void. Waves of shocking silver lightning energy spread out, as if it had turned into countless silver-white spiritual snakes that shuttled through the void. The oppressive might of the lightning caused one's hair to stand on end and their hearts to turn cold. Under this terrifying lightning, the cold energy in the 8 trigrams diagram in the void boiled. It was an instinctive fear. Chapter 1868. In this short instant, when the silver-white giant lightning tree appeared, the lightning arcs that hid the sky and covered the earth shuttled back and forth like a spiritual root, drawing the surging dark and cold energy. The frightening dark and cold energy was forcibly absorbed by the tree. As the lightning tree appeared, the blood-red figure that was about to recover began to feel fear. It was as if it had been pulled in by a great force, and it was unable to completely condense. It seemed to have been suppressed and drawn in by a natural force. Unable to control itself, it madly shot toward the lightning tree. Rumble! Terrifying silver-white lightning swept out, causing the world to tremble violently. The silver-white lightning wreaked havoc, as if countless bombs had exploded within the 8 trigrams diagram. It was ear-piercing and dizzying. Within the 8 trigrams diagram, the vast and terrifying cold energy that covered the sky was directly devoured and absorbed the moment it came into contact with the silver-white lightning arcs. The giant blood-red figure that was about to reform crumbled inch by inch under the devouring and influence of the monstrous silver-white lightning arcs, unable to reform. "No, no! My lord, save me, save me!" A shrill voice filled with fear rang out from the monstrous blood-red cold energy. The voice reverberated in the air, and even the rumbling thunder could not drown it out. However, the voice had only just sounded when the monstrous blood-red cold energy was completely destroyed and then absorbed by the silver net soul-devouring lightning. The giant lightning tree stood in the air as lightning arcs filled the sky, like the waves of a silver lake in a sea of lightning. It did not take long for the all-encompassing cold energy to be completely devoured. This scene was simply too terrifying, causing Chiyeshi's expression to change. She finally felt the terror of the spirit lightning up close. How many people in the world wanted to integrate spirit lightning into their bodies? Not to mention the fact that spirit lightning was extremely rare and could only be found by chance. More importantly, very few people succeeded. Many talented people who wanted to integrate spirit lightning ended up dying in the end. However, the man in front of her had integrated several spirit lightnings into his body. Even with Chiyeshi's status and experience, she could not help but sigh at this moment. However, there was more joy in the depths of her heart. Walala! The silver-sifting soul-devouring lightning that filled the sky began to dissipate, and the giant lightning tree collapsed. In the end, everything converged, turning into a resplendent silver-white tangible lightning arc that shot into Du Xiaofu's forehead. The yin energy bodies that filled the sky were no longer there, and the dark void around them began to brighten up. What a huge amount of energy! Du Xiaofu exhaled a deep breath of air. His face was a little pale, and his face was flushed red. His body and mind were filled with the surging dark and cold energy that had been devoured by the silver net soul-devouring lightning. He had yet to refine it. However, Du Xiaofu knew very well that once he completely refined the surging cold energy in his body, the benefits he would gain from his Yuan spirit would be far greater than what he had gained in the Heavenly Star Secret Realm. It's an unexpected gain. A smile appeared on his resolute face. Du Xiaofu was very satisfied with his gains. Even if he could not obtain any other benefits from the Heavenly Star Secret Realm, it would be a worthwhile trip. However, Du Xiaofu did not dare to be careless with the surging cold energy in his body that he had yet to refine. The surging cold energy was no joke as soon as he was affected. He might even suffer from cultivation deviation. It would definitely be extremely dangerous. Things do seem a little bad. There are other energy bodies here. Chiyeshi stared ahead, but her enchanting face did not relax. She still remained solemn. When the blood-red figure dissipated, it was clearly calling out for other existences. Are there other energy bodies? Du Xiaofu probed with his mind. The cries for help from the blood-red figure naturally did not escape Du Xiaofu's ears. However, Du Xiaofu didn't discover anything when he probed with his mind, and a puzzled expression appeared on his face. Be careful. Let's go ahead and take a look. Du Xiaofu withdrew his mind and carefully moved forward. The enormous outer sky star was suspended in the void. It was incomparably vast and attracted Du Xiaofu's attention. Qieshi was vigilant and did not dare to be careless. She then followed behind Du Xiaofu. The vast outer sky star was suspended in the void. It was shining brightly like a bright moon. The invisible crushing force distorted the surrounding void into a concave shape. Even with Du Xiaofu and Qieshi's cultivation level, they felt as if they were facing a strong wind. Is this the outer sky star? Finally, the two approached the vast outer sky star. It was suspended in the air and filled with a powerful aura. It made one's heart tremble and beat faster. It's really incredible. Du Xiaofu was also amazed. This huge star was thousands of feet in size and was as majestic as a mountain. Its entire body was irregularly round and there were holes of varying depths on its surface. There were dazzling rays of light flickering on them. If one looked closely, they would discover that those flickering rays of light were actually densely packed runes. These symbols are related to the Star Power Upanishad. If the Star Power Upanishad absorbs this energy, it can increase your power. Qieshi's beautiful face was shocked. Then, she became happy. The symbols on the outer sky star were related to the Star Power Upanishad. And if the Star Power Upanishad absorbed the energy from the outer sky star, it could increase one's cultivation base. Be careful! All of a sudden, Du Xiaofu changed his face in fright. He pulled Qieshi and retreated quickly. Swish! 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 While Du Xiaofu was pulling Qieshi to retreat, the outer sky star began to fluctuate. The tremendous aura began to ripple everywhere like surging waves. Sizzle! Sizzle! In a very short time, the outer sky star was filled with dazzling electric arcs. However, these electric arcs were very strange. They were as dazzling as the stars. The electric arcs were still spreading, filling the void with dazzling electric arcs. They emitted an aura that could make one's primordial spirit tremble. They were like stars floating in the Milky Way, blinking their eyes. Sizzle! 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 The electric arcs intertwined with each other. A terrifying aura spread out, causing Qieshi's expression to change drastically. Du Xiaofu's figure retreated. His eyes stared at the unfolding starlight and electric arcs in front of him. The thunder martial vein in his body was affected, and the scarlet demonic monkey primordial spirit in his mind was also affected. What is that? Qieshi exclaimed. She could feel the destructive aura from the electric arcs. That vast aura made her divine soul tremble. Chapter 1869. Spiritual lightning! It's a bolt of spiritual lightning! Du Xiaofu exclaimed. His eyes narrowed. He did not even need to sense the reaction of his soul or the lightning veins in his body to know that it was a bolt of spiritual lightning that had appeared from the stars. Spiritual lightning! Qieshi was stunned. She had never known that there was a bolt of spiritual lightning in the heavenly Qin secret realm. Even her father had never told her about it. Walala! The starlight rippled, filling the sky in an extremely short amount of time. It looked like a river of stars had filled the sky. However, the terrifying pressure and soul-shaking presence announced that this was a bolt of spiritual lightning that could destroy all things, not a gentle starlight. Spiritual lightning! Human, you have spiritual lightning! I knew when you came in, hee. The starlight rippled, and a voice that sounded like a woman's voice rang out from the vast expanse of starlight. Violent ripples appeared in the surroundings. Your spiritual lightning? Qieshi asked. Her face was solemn as she stood close to Du Xiaofu. She could sense the terrifying presence, and knew just how terrifying this bolt of spiritual lightning was. This bolt of spiritual lightning was probably what the humanoid energy body had asked for help in the end. It was not asking for help from any other energy body, but a terrifying bolt of spiritual lightning. That's right. You can call me spiritual lightning, but you can also call me Lord Tai Qin. However, I don't mind what you low-level creatures call me, let alone you, because you're all going to die anyway. The voice paused for a moment, and the starlight rippled violently. It was like a pair of terrifying eyes had locked onto Du Xiaofu. It said, "Especially you, human. To be able to kill those energy bodies, your cultivation is indeed extraordinary. You even have spiritual lightning on you. How could those ignorant idiots be a match for you? However, that's not important, because you're also going to die, You were the one who created those energy bodies?" Hearing the tone of the spiritual thunder, Du Xiaofu raised his head slightly, narrowed his eyes, and frowned slightly. The invisible aura that spread out from the starlight and lightning arcs that covered the sky was definitely extremely powerful. "You can say that I created those energy bodies, but you can also say that I didn't. Strictly speaking, they were attracted and gathered by the meteorite. Over a long period of time, they began to gain sentience, but they were so stupid that they had no intelligence. One day, I woke up and cultivated here. For so many years, I've been hiding in the meteorite. When I was bored, I gave these energy bodies sentience, so that they could help me pass the time." The voice ripple of Starlight the Starlight. The voice became more and more agitated and shrill as it spoke. It continued, "But now, there's no need for that anymore. You two are not weak. You even devoured those idiots that were supposed to be devoured by me. Now I'll refine you, and with the other spiritual lightning, I'll definitely be able to take that step forward. When that time comes, I'll be able to leave this boring space and come out into the world. I'll be able to achieve the name Tai Chin, he. An intense and sharp sound reverberated in the air like endless thunder. A terrifying arc of starlight rose and fell along with the sound wave, as if the sound wave was surging violently. Just the fluctuating aura alone made Du Xiaofu frown again. Qiyeshi's face turned slightly pale. The energy bodies in the Tianqin secret territory originally didn't have any intelligence. It turned out that the spiritual lightning was the one who secretly created them. It was hiding in the stars, and the experts of the Yin-Yang school had never discovered it. Du Xiaofu and Qiyeshi looked at each other and exchanged glances. "Phew!" Du Xiaofu took a deep breath and suppressed the surging cold energy in his body. He said to Qiyeshi, "Protect yourself. Leave the rest to me." With that, Du Xiaofu took a step forward and raised his head slightly. Light began to flicker in his eyes. "Be careful!" This time, Qiyeshi didn't say anything. She knew that with the presence of the spiritual lightning, she wouldn't be able to help much. She frowned, but she began to retreat. Protecting herself and not letting him worry was already the best way to help. He. The spiritual lightning laughed again. Its invisible eyes stared at Du Xiaofu and said, "Little human, you have some guts. But I'm really curious how you managed to fuse with the spiritual lightning. You want the spiritual lightning in my body?" Du Xiaofu said as he stared at the rippling arcs of starlight. Under those invisible eyes, he felt a little uneasy. If it was someone whose cultivation was not high enough, they would not even have the chance to attack under the influence of those invisible eyes. This spiritual thunder was definitely not an ordinary one. Du Xiaofu didn't find it strange that the spiritual lightning, which called itself Tai Chin, reacted to him. When spiritual lightning devoured each other, it would become stronger and stronger. Back then, when he encountered the heavenly earth thunder and the silver silk soul devouring lightning, they all wanted to devour the spiritual lightning in his body. But in the end, they were devoured by him, and he became stronger. Therefore, at this moment, when he encountered this spiritual lightning and felt its presence, Du Xiaofu was a little afraid. His heart was filled with anticipation. His eyes shone with a blazing light. Little human, you don't deserve our spiritual lightning. So, I will take it back. With the two of you, the heavens are really helping me." His giggles echoed in the air. "Is that so? I'm also looking forward to it." Du Xiaofu stepped into the air, his purple robe fluttering. Arrogant and ignorant human. The laughter suddenly changed, and the voice became cold. The starlight and electric arcs fluctuated, and a bright electric arc rushed out. It condensed into a curved saber wrapped in starlight, and it instantly rushed towards Du Xiaofu. This curved war blade was a bit blurry, but the symbols were resplendent and blazing. The aura that accompanied it was shocking, making people feel fear. That kind of aura wanted to destroy the world. It traversed through the void and was incomparable. One could see that wherever it passed, the void would crumble inch by inch. The deathly still and withered earth below was also turning into fine powder. It seemed like it could destroy everything. It was too terrifying. This was the condensed spiritual lightning, and it wanted to kill Du Xiaofu directly. Be careful. She looked dignified, and her body was wrapped in starlight. At this moment, the aura of the curved saber made her worry for Du Xiaofu. She knew that she couldn't resist that terrifying aura. Du Xiaofu looked serious, but he didn't retreat half a step. His hands formed a seal, and he wanted to fight it head-on. Chapter 1870. Seeing that Du Xiaofu actually wanted to fight it head-on, Qi expression became even more serious. That terrifying spiritual thunder was definitely not to be underestimated. It was much stronger than her granduncle Qixingpa's aura. Rumble! Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, like rolling thunder. Fierce thunder exploded in the void, shaking the sky. This was not the thunder caused by the spiritual thunder. This was the thunder caused by the lightning runes on Du Xiaofu's body at this moment. Du Xiaofu activated his thunder martial vein, letting out the sound of lightning flashing and thunder rumbling. In an instant, an unparalleled purple arc of lightning rushed out from Du Xiaofu's body. The runes were dazzling, wrapping around his fist. The earth-shaking fist condensed into the domineering fist path, directly blocking the battle blade condensed from the starlight and spiritual thunder. It blocked the destructive momentum of the battle blade. Rumble! This was too terrifying. The two collided, and the sound of wind and thunder was endless. The sky was full of electric arcs, as if the world was about to be turned upside down. An unbelievable scene appeared. The battle blade that could destroy everything clashed with Du Xiaofu's domineering fist path. After a moment of stalemate, the terrifying starlight and electric arcs surged into Du Xiaofu's body. However, it did not harm Du Xiaofu. Instead, it was involuntarily absorbed by Du Xiaofu and then shattered. A thunderous sound of surprise came from the starlight and electric arcs, and a strange fluctuation appeared. Dang dang! Du Xiaofu's body was wrapped by the bright starlight and electric arcs, and his figure also staggered back a few steps. Walala! However, as he stomped on the air and stabilized his body, the starlight and electric arcs on his body were withdrawn, and purple electric arcs appeared. The thunder martial vein wrapped around his body, and his hair fluttered behind him like purple electric arcs. Not bad. Du Xiaofu raised his head slightly to look at the overwhelming starlight and electric arcs. He licked his lips and enjoyed it very much. He immediately felt that the thunder martial vein in his body was boiling. However, in his heart, Du Xiaofu was not careless at all. This spiritual lightning was too strong. It was much stronger than the 7-star break. Peak of the Lord Realm. According to Du Xiaofu's guess, this bolt of lightning was probably at the peak of the Overlord region realm. Even though he hadn't sensed the aura of an exalted nirvana exalt from it, as a bolt of lightning, it was a supreme being of this world, so its strength was definitely above 7-star splitter. What a strange martial vein! It gives me a familiar feeling. Brat, you're not from the Yin-Yang school. Who are you? The female voice of thunder rippled through the void. From Du Xiaofu's body, the spiritual thunder seemed to have sensed a familiar aura from the depths of its memory. This aura made it feel familiar yet fearful, fearful yet greedy. The aura made it feel that if it could devour the human in front of it, the benefits would definitely be far greater than devouring any other bolt of lightning. It doesn't matter who I am. Don't you want to refine me? You don't seem to have the ability to do so. Du Xiaofu spoke with a relaxed expression, but he was not careless at all. If he made a mistake and fell into the hands of this bolt of lightning, the consequences would be obvious. There was still surging cold energy in his body that he hadn't refined yet, so he couldn't let any accidents happen. Ignorant brat! The sound of the starlight and electric arcs became sharp. Many bolts of lightning shot out like streaks of starlight, bombarding Du Xiaofu with lightning speed. Come! Du Xiaofu stepped into the air and waved his sleeve. The purple electric arcs on his body became even more resplendent. Sizzle! When the streaks of starlight and thunder came into contact with the purple electric arcs on Du Xiaofu's body, they would erupt with muffled sounds of wind and thunder. Then, they would directly surge into his body and disappear, making the purple electric runes on his body become even more resplendent. The starlight and thunder were terrifying and could destroy everything. When the streaks of starlight fell, it gave people the illusion of a sky full of falling stars, as if they were going to destroy the world. However, when faced with Du Xiaofu's lightning martial vein, they were naturally restrained and were devoured by it. Du Xiaofu's physical body, under the forging of the purple gold Xian bomb, was already an indestructible Xian body. The starlight and thunder could destroy everything, but in front of the indestructible Xian body, they seemed to be somewhat frustrated. As the streaks of starlight and thunder struck down, Du Xiaofu stood proudly in the storm like starlight and thunder. This was so domineering that it shocked everyone. However, Qi Yishi was the only one who saw this scene, and she was shocked. Boom! 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 In the starlight and thunder, the streaks of starlight and thunder were like streaks of starlight that constantly exploded around Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu, under the double protection of the lightning martial vein and the indestructible Xian body, stood there calmly. The surrounding starlight and thunder were devoured by the lightning martial vein, causing the purple electric runes on Du Xiaofu's lightning martial vein to become even more resplendent. However, at this moment, Du Xiaofu seemed to be relaxed, but his brows were slightly furrowed. Previously, Du Xiaofu had swallowed too much yin energy and had yet to refine it. At this moment, he was also affected by the violent impact. This was not a good thing. Du Xiaofu felt a faint pressure and seriousness. Human, your martial vein is special, but you are too greedy. From the moment you entered here, I knew that you had a spiritual thunder in your body, so I purposely let those stupid energy bodies let you devour it. I guess you are not feeling good now, right? Hee, humans are greedy, but humans are insignificant. Die. When these words fell, in an instant, the starlight and electric arcs that occupied the void became even more violent. The streaks of thunder were like falling stars. Bang, bang, bang! The thunder exploded, and the void collapsed inch by inch. Dang, dang! As the space around him collapsed inch by inch, and the electric arcs surged, Du Xiaofu was also forced to stagger back. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's lightning martial vein and indestructible Xian body could not withstand the violent impact of the spiritual thunder. This is not good. Du Xiaofu frowned, and his face turned pale. The surging cold energy in his body seemed to have sensed an opportunity at this moment, and it began to rampage in his body and mind. Hee, ignorant human, you have tasted the bitter fruit of greed. Once I devour you, I will definitely break through to the Saint Realm. At that time, this space will no longer be able to restrain me. The thunder was like a falling star, bombarding Du Xiaofu indiscriminately. Can you deal with it? This was destruction. Qieshi watched from afar with fear. If this happened outside, the entire school of Yinyang would probably be destroyed. I have to end this quickly. I can't drag this out any longer. Lightning flashed in Du Xiaofu's eyes as he muttered to himself. This kind of impact had too great of an impact on the surging cold energy in his body. The spiritual thunder had been condensed here for countless years and had grown to the peak of the Master Realm. It was naturally extremely terrifying. Coupled with the cold energy in Du Xiaofu's body, it was even more difficult to deal with. Chapter 1871. Let's go all out! With a decision in his heart, Du Xiaofu did not hesitate any longer. He waved his hand in the midst of the star splendor and thunderbolts that were exploding around him. With a wave of his hand, a purple gold flowing light immediately spread out from his palm. Bzzzt, bzzzt, the purple thunder profound cauldron instantly appeared in Du Xiaofu's palm. As Du Xiaofu waved his hand and tossed it upwards, it transformed into a huge three-legged cauldron that hung upside down in the air. Rumble! 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 Wind and thunder clanged, and the heavens and earth suddenly trembled violently. Purple-gold thunderclouds gathered out of thin air. Lightning flashed and thunder roared, condensing into a large expanse of purple-gold lightning that occupied the sky. The destructive aura of this lightning made one's heart tremble. Explosions rang out continuously as purple-gold lightning wreaked havoc, as if countless bombs were exploding in the sky. A destructive energy spread out, and the surrounding ancient heaven and earth seemed to be about to be destroyed. If spirit lightning was said to be the supreme living being of this world, then it was a terrifying existence. At this moment, this purple-gold profound lightning was the supreme of supreme beings, and also the supreme of lightning. The might and pressure emanating from the purple-gold profound lightning was not something that the starlight spirit lightning could compare to at all. With Du Xiaofu's current cultivation, activating the purple thunder profound cauldron, and using the purple-gold profound lightning was no longer the same as before. It was enough to suppress the starlight spirit lightning. Although Du Xiaofu had many trump cards now, the purple-gold profound lightning was still his strongest trump card. What is that? At this moment, the spirit lightning also immediately felt that terrifying might. Streaks of starlight and lightning rippled violently, and the surrounding lightning space rippled as if the galaxy was shaking. Come on! Du Xiaofu activated the purple thunder profound cauldron, using the purple-gold profound lightning to suppress it. As the vast purple-gold profound lightning spun around the purple thunder profound cauldron, it turned into a lightning black hole. Rumble! The space around the purple lightning profound cauldron collapsed inch by inch to the point where it could not be restored, revealing a heart-palpitating pitch-black color. An enormous devouring power that the starlight and spiritual lightning could not resist surged out, and directly swallowed the starlight, lightning, and thunder that covered the sky and earth. Rumble! Thunderous rumbles continued to spread out from the void, causing people's hearts to tremble. The lightning bolts condensed from the purple-gold electric arcs were like purple-gold pythons, exploding in all directions, destroying the starlight and electric arcs. Originally, the streaks of starlight and thunderbolts were like countless falling stars, making it difficult for Du Xiaofu to deal with. However, with the appearance of the purple thunder profound cauldron, the pressure on Du Xiaofu was greatly reduced. He stabilized himself in the void, and the thunder martial veins around his body continued to devour the starlight and electric arcs. What was even crazier was that the purple lightning profound cauldron was swallowing the starlight spiritual lightning like a tide. It was like a bottomless pit that could not be filled. With Du Xiaofu and the purple thunder profound cauldron as the center, a huge black hole appeared in the void. Countless starlight and electric arcs were devoured and poured into the black hole. Starlight and electric arcs erupted and interweaved resplendently. They wanted to break free from the purple-gold profound bomb and Du Xiaofu's devouring, but they couldn't stop or retreat at all. So familiar. What exactly is that? Boy, who exactly are you? The sharp female voice of thunder echoed. At this moment, the spiritual lightning began to feel fear. From the three-legged cauldron, there was also an aura of fear in the depths of its memory. Now, do you still want to refine me? Du Xiaofu's eyes seemed to contain a sea of purple lightning. The thunder martial veins in his body absorbed the starlight spiritual lightning, and his entire body was wrapped in starlight and electric arcs. These starlight and electric arcs entered Du Xiaofu's body and caused Du Xiaofu's skin to sink in. Some of his skin even cracked, but then it recovered to normal. This cycle continued. Rumble! The starlight spiritual lightning in the surroundings crazily attacked and destroyed. However, no matter if it came into contact with Du Xiaofu, his body, or the purple thunder profound cauldron, it was like water that came into contact with dry sand. It disappeared in an instant. Human, how about we stay out of each other's business? Let's both take a step back. I won't devour you, and those energy bodies can be considered as a gift to you. How about it? The sharp sound of thunder echoed. The spiritual lightning seemed to want to compromise. Do you think I will believe you? The corners of Du Xiaofu's mouth curled up into a smile. With this spiritual lightning, How could Du Xiaofu believe that the spiritual lightning was so treacherous and cunning that the Yin energy bodies deliberately sent themselves to their deaths to restrain him? He was afraid that once the spiritual lightning found a new opportunity, it would instantly counterattack. At that time, he would be the unlucky one. Rumble. Sensing that Du Xiaofu had no intention of compromising, the countless starlight spiritual lightning arcs condensed into huge thunderbolts that were dozens of feet long, and even dozens of feet long. All of them crazily rampaged, and with a continuous rumbling sound, they bombarded Du Xiaofu and the purple thunder profound cauldron. Under the crazy bombardment of the starlight spiritual lightning, Du Xiaofu's body and the purple thunder profound cauldron were also affected and were forced to retreat. Du Xiaofu's body also began to crack and show signs of sinking under the impact of the violent thunderbolts. However, it gradually recovered. Poof! However, at this moment, as Du Xiaofu and the purple thunder profound cauldron were affected, a dazzling electric arc swept out from the starlight spiritual lightning arcs and directly went into the outer star that was suspended in the void not far away. The starlight spiritual lightning arcs that filled the sky then followed into the outer star and disappeared. Then, the outer star's light became much brighter. The purple thunder profound cauldron swallowed the starlight spiritual lightning arcs around it, but it was unable to stop the other starlight spiritual lightning arcs from escaping. Du Xiaofu's thunder martial vein was wrapped, and under the effect of the immortal Xian body, his body was just recovering. As the starlight spiritual lightning arcs dissipated, the purple thunder profound cauldron withdrew into his palm. Did the spiritual lightning arcs escape? Xie came to Du Xiaofu's side with a face full of shock. The shock on her beautiful face had yet to dissipate. The outer star is the place where the spiritual lightning arcs are hidden. Du Xiaofu looked at the outer star that was suspended in the void in front of him, his eyes flashing with lightning. He raised his eyebrows slightly and said, "Perhaps the outer star is the place where the spiritual lightning arcs were born. Are you saying that the spiritual lightning arcs were born and bred in the outer star?" Qi eyes flickered and rippled. She was surprised but not surprised. The stars beyond the heavens were strange and profound. It was possible for it to have given birth to a bolt of spiritual thunder. Otherwise, no one would know where this bolt of spiritual thunder came from. Most likely. If we want to catch it, I'm afraid we have to go in. Du Xiaofu stared at the stars in the sky, and his eyes were burning with passion. Right now, it was no longer the spiritual lightning arcs that wanted to refine Du Xiaofu. Instead, it was Du Xiaofu that wanted to fuse with the spiritual lightning arcs that could only be encountered by chance. According to the signs of fusing with the spiritual lightning arcs in the past, Du Xiaofu estimated that as long as he fused with the spiritual lightning arcs, his soul would probably be able to advance to the next level. In terms of cultivation, coupled with the surging cold energy that he had recently refined, there was even great hope for him to advance further. However, Du Xiaofu was well aware of the danger involved. Although he had successfully fused with several spiritual lightnings, continuing to fuse with spiritual lightning arcs would probably be even more dangerous than before. However, this was an opportunity to strengthen himself and transform again. Du Xiaofu's heart was boiling. If there was an opportunity to advance further and transform his soul, it was far too tempting. It was enough for Du Xiaofu to take the risk. You want to deal with that spiritual lightning arcs? Qi stared at Du Xiaofu. That spiritual lightning arcs was very frightening. At the moment, it was afraid of the divine thunder cauldron and Du Xiaofu's thunder martial vein and had retreated. However, she did not expect that this guy in front of her had his eyes on that spiritual lightning arcs. I have a way to fuse with the spiritual lightning. Don't worry. Du Xiaofu smiled at Qi. Although this was a risky thing, he had the purple thunder cauldron, thunder martial vein, and a mysterious incomplete cultivation method. These were also the capital to take the risk. You still have some cold energy in your body that has not been refined. It will affect you. Why don't you make a plan after refining it? After hesitating for a moment, Qi eyes rippled as she spoke to Du Xiaofu with a serious expression. That spiritual lightning was injured just now. By the time I refine the cold energy in my body, it will have recovered and will be fully prepared. At that time, it will definitely be more difficult to deal with it. Moreover, I'm afraid that it will not give me the time to completely refine the cold energy in my body. Du Xiaofu raised his eyes and looked at the dazzling outer star that was filled with a vast aura. That spiritual lightning was injured by the purple thunder cauldron and was greatly affected. Once it recovered and made new preparations, it would be even more difficult to deal with it. In Du Xiaofu's heart, he did not believe that the spiritual lightning would give him the chance to completely refine the cold energy in his body. That spiritual lightning deliberately let him devour the surging cold energy in order to suppress him. Du Xiaofu did not believe that the spiritual lightning would miss such an opportunity. Although he could completely refine the cold energy in his body in the purple thunder cauldron, and believed that the spiritual lightning would not be able to do anything to him, Du Xiaofu did not want the spiritual lightning to be prepared. The outer star is the place where the spiritual lightning was born. Even if it is just a place where it resides, it will definitely be extremely dangerous. Qi was still extremely worried. It was almost impossible for a supreme being to completely suppress and merge with such a spiritual lightning. There were even supreme being ancestors of the Yin-Yang school who had died while trying to merge with the spiritual lightning. I will be careful. Wait for me outside. Du Xiaofu lowered his head and kissed the beautiful woman's frowning brows. Then, he looked at the huge outer star in front of him. Purple lightning flashed in his eyes and his body was wrapped in the thunder martial vein talisman. As soon as he finished speaking, he turned into a flash of purple lightning and swept into the sky. Be careful. I will wait for you here. Qi shouted at Du Xiaofu. She did not stop him. She knew what he needed the most now. Qi did not follow him. She knew that she could not help him. The only thing she could do now was to wait quietly. Looking at the figure that had turned into a flash of purple lightning, Qi eyes rippled for a long time. Unknowingly, she realized that she was no longer the same person as before. She could no longer help him. He had already caught up with her and was even further ahead than her. I don't want to be further and further away from you. I don't want to be a burden to you. Qi red lips moved slightly as she murmured softly. Chapter 1872. Qi looked at the dazzling starlight and rippling energy from the outer star. She then leaped out and arrived under the outer star despite the vast pressure. Feeling the vigorous energy ripples, Qi's starry eyes shone with determination. This was the greatest opportunity that she wanted to obtain after entering the heavenly star secret realm. Now that the greatest opportunity was right in front of her, Qi didn't want to hesitate anymore. She sat down cross-legged and formed hand seals. Talisman runes spread out from her body. Yin and Yang Qi rippled and starlight flowed. She began to absorb the energy from the outer star. She didn't want to be further away from him. Qi wanted to strengthen herself and absorb the vigorous energy from the outer star to temper her body and increase her cultivation. Whoosh! Under the vigorous energy ripples, starlight talisman runes spread out from the outer star. Together with the energy ripples, they enveloped Qi. When all of this looked at from afar, Qi seemed like she was amidst a river of stars, and it was pure and dignified. Whoosh! At this moment, Du Xiaofu, who was enveloped by the thunder martial vein, seemed to have turned into a real bolt of lightning. It was as if he had broken through the barrier and entered the outer star. Boom! Suddenly, a terrifying energy and vast might swept over and crushed Du Xiaofu's surroundings. On the star in outer space, the place where the star radiance and spiritual lightning escaped into was originally a lightning restriction. It wasn't difficult for Du Xiaofu to enter. Du Xiaofu didn't expect the vast might and energy of the outer star. He almost fell over, and the surging cold energy in his body was affected. However, Du Xiaofu steadied himself. He felt the aura of the starlight and spiritual thunder. He entered through a deep starlight passage, as if he was passing through a starlight path. This starlight passage was deep and boundless. There was only starlight rippling in it. Boom! Occasionally, there would be terrifying thunderbolts gathered from starlight and electric arcs. They would be dozens of feet long, and could destroy the physical body of a cultivator. They could even destroy the primordial spirit, and cause cracks to appear in the space. They were powerful enough to kill cultivators below the Saint Plane and destroy them into pieces. With the star splendor spiritual thunder and the power of the outer stars, it was impossible to pass through this star splendor passage without special means. However, Du Xiaofu was an exception. Not to mention the thunder martial veins and the powerful immortal Xian body in his body, the star ultimacy that he cultivated also came into play at this moment. Du Xiaofu was able to get through the tunnel safely, but his nerves were tense, and he didn't dare to be careless. The passageway was very long. Perhaps time was affected by the passageway and became very illusory. After a long time, Du Xiaofu's eyes lit up, as if he had reached the end of the tunnel. Are we almost there? With lightning in his eyes, Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows slightly. His feet stepped on the void, and his body sped up. Sizzle! When Du Xiaofu rushed out of the star splendor passage, a dazzling light appeared, forcing him to squint his eyes. It was almost impossible to look directly at it. A terrible destructive power poured down like an avalanche. Rumble! Du Xiaofu was already prepared. He waved his sleeves and used the thunder martial veins to condense the sky-shaking wings, fanning them forward. Rumble! Electric arcs surged and thunder rumbled like thunder. Thump thump! Under the impact of the overwhelming thunder, Du Xiaofu's figure also staggered back. Electric arcs surged on his body, and the cracks on his body slowly healed. However, Du Xiaofu's purple robe was already a bit shabby. At this moment, it was completely destroyed. The robe didn't cover his body, revealing his purple gold skin, showing a kind of vigor like a dragon. The purple electric arcs on his body made him even more majestic. As he staggered back, Du Xiaofu realized that he had appeared in a space of star splendor and thunder. The surrounding star splendor and thunder filled the sky like a river of stars. An unusually violent energy that made one's origin soul tremble filled the space. This was the spiritual thunder aura of the self-proclaimed Taichun. However, this aura was much more violent than the aura Du Xiaofu felt when he was outside. In the space of star splendor and thunder, there was a star splendor and thunder beast that was more than 10,000 feet tall. It covered the sky. This thunder beast looked like a lightning rabbit, but its body was like a wolf and a tiger. Its fierce eyes seemed to contain two thunder stars, and a terrifying destructive aura fluctuated. This is indeed its territory! Looking at the vast sea of star splendor and thunder, Du Xiaofu didn't find it strange. He just didn't know if this was the hiding place of Taichun, or if it was the place where Taichun was born. Human, you really dare to come in here to die? Hee hee, you overestimate yourself. An ear-piercing voice pierced through the space, causing large amounts of star splendor and thunder splendor to explode. It was a terrifying scene. At this moment, looking at Du Xiaofu, the star splendor and thunder beast's eyes were filled with greed and anticipation. It didn't think that this human would dare to chase after it. This was its territory, and it had an absolute advantage. Its fierce eyes stared at Du Xiaofu. This was an opportunity that had been delivered to its doorstep. This was its opportunity. As long as it could refine the human before it, it would be able to take another step forward. It would be able to leave this space and look down on the world. I'm afraid you don't have the strength. Du Xiaofu smiled faintly. With a wave of his hand, a purple gold light suddenly spread out from his palm. The purple lightning profound cauldron appeared in his palm again. Purple thunderclouds surged around them, and lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. The purple gold lightning arcs were like giant pythons that coiled around the area. Feeling the destructive power of the purple lightning profound cauldron, the thunder beast's fierce eyes suddenly turned ugly. It was filled with fear, but then it lifted its head, and its eyes were gloomy and cold. It said in a deep voice, "Brat, do you really think that you can do anything to me by relying on treasures? This is my territory. Even if you have treasures, it's not enough. Be obedient and let me refine you." Rumble. As soon as it finished speaking, the star splendor and thunder beast's huge body burst out and charged directly at Du Xiaofu. In an instant, The thunderbolts that could topple mountains and overturn seas rushed over like a stormy sea. The terrifying aura froze the surrounding space, and the destructive and majestic energy rushed over, causing one's soul to tremble. Come! Go! Du Xiaofu shouted and threw out the purple lightning profound cauldron in his hand. It turned into a huge three-legged cauldron. Lightning flashed and thunder roared, and a large amount of purple-gold thunderbolts gathered in the sky to form a purple-gold vortex, which continued to devour the surrounding star splendor and thunder. However, at this moment, the star splendor and thunder were much stronger than before. It seemed to have a complementary relationship with the stars in the sky, and its power was even stronger. The blazing star splendor and thunder beast fluctuated violently, and the surrounding space rippled. In the loud rumbling of thunder, electric arcs spread out from the thunder pool, condensing into several hundred feet of thunderbolts. They were like giant pythons that constantly attacked Du Xiaofu and the purple lightning profound cauldron. Under such violent attacks, Du Xiaofu, who was controlling the purple lightning profound cauldron, was constantly pushed back. His body was attacked by the star splendor and thunder martial vein. Even with the indestructible Xian body and thunder martial vein, his physical body was cracked, and his recovery speed was greatly reduced. It was getting more and more difficult. At the same time, the surging yin energy in Du Xiaofu's body was also affected, and it went berserk again. Hee, kid, you're not strong enough. You're digging your own grave. Having gained the upper hand, the thunder beast laughed loudly. It was deafening, and thunder surged. Chapter 1873. Du Xiaofu didn't say anything. His skin cracked from the impact of the starlight and lightning, but his thunder martial vein flickered and swallowed the starlight. His immortal Xian body was also repairing his body. At the same time, a golden light bloomed on Du Xiaofu's body. A strange rune soared into the sky, and his aura surged. In an instant, Du Xiaofu's body was surrounded by dazzling golden feathers, which condensed into a golden armor that covered his entire body. Gee! Golden light rippled, and layers of feathers grew out of his body, covering Du Xiaofu's body, forming a magnificent golden armor. Faint cries of the golden-winged rock could be heard, piercing through the clouds and splitting rocks. His domineering aura swept through the void. Du Xiaofu activated the blue spirit armor to block the starlight and lightning around him. Instantly, the pressure on him decreased greatly. Although the blue spirit armor consumed a lot of energy, the defense of the blue spirit armor was not ordinary. The key is here. Yes. Du Xiaofu muttered and raised his head slightly. The purple lightning profound cauldron and the thunder martial vein were already unable to deal with that bolt of spiritual lightning in the stars beyond this sky. He had to use all his strength. Boom! Suddenly, the lightning space trembled for no reason, and ancient runes surged out. Suddenly, a strange pattern appeared in the void. It was formed of mountains and lakes, wind, rain, thunder, and lightning alternating, the sun, moon, and stars changing, and mountains and rivers moving horizontally. This was a void 8 trigrams diagram. With Du Xiaofu as the center, it swept out like a divine ring, filled with bright light, and all kinds of strange phenomena surged out. The huge 8 trigrams diagram spread. The lightning beast seemed to have felt something, and its star-like eyes trembled for no reason. The surrounding void was chaotic. That strange 8 trigrams diagram spread out in a radius of 10,000 feet, and a terrifying aura filled the air. The lightning beast roared, feeling a vast aura starting to suppress it, greatly affecting it and making it tremble secretly. Even the dazzling starlight and lightning on the lightning beast's body began to dim in the face of such power. Du Xiaofu was already using all his strength, using the 8 trigrams profound meaning. In order to completely suppress this bolt of spiritual lightning, he was going all out. Oh! The expression of the lightning beast began to change. It let out a sharp and angry roar. Starlight and lightning exploded. The terrifying power shook the void and destroyed a large area of space. It seemed to want to shatter the void 8 trigrams diagram, but in the end, it did not succeed. Du Xiaofu had the protection of the cyan spirit armor, The star splendor and thunderbolts that struck the Cyan spirit armor were then devoured by the thunder martial vein and resisted by the immortal Xian body, so Du Xiaofu would not be affected much. The thunder martial vein, the purple gold profound lightning, and the 8 trigrams. Du Xiaofu suppressed the starlight spiritual lightning once again. The purple thunder profound cauldron spun and the purple gold profound lightning around the cauldron gathered into a whirlpool. The powerful suction force pulled the python-like starlight thunderbolts directly into the purple thunder profound cauldron. The thunder martial vein in Du Xiaofu's body was also devouring the starlight thunderbolts continuously. Under the effect of the 8 trigrams diagram, the surrounding starlight thunderbolts in the thunder pools seemed to be pulled by some invisible force. Once they fell into the void 8 trigrams diagram, they could not help but be controlled by the spiritual lightning and crazily rushed towards the purple thunder profound cauldron. When the starlight thunderbolts came into contact with the purple thunder profound cauldron, they disappeared directly, and immediately disappeared into the purple thunder profound cauldron. Countless starlight thunderbolts swept past, and the huge starlight thunderbolts that were dozens of feet long danced crazily. With a rumbling sound of thunder, they swept towards the purple thunder profound cauldron, but in the end, they all disappeared into the purple thunder profound cauldron. At this moment, the purple thunder profound cauldron was like a bottomless pit, allowing the starlight thunderbolts to sweep in freely. Rumble! The terrifying thunderbolts swept out, and this part of the void was also constantly trembling. The thunderbolts were raging, as if there were countless bombs exploding. It was deafening, stinging, and dizzying. Bastard, how could this be? At this moment, the thunderbolt exotic beast finally felt fear. Its huge body moved horizontally in midair like a beast god in the sky, erupting huge thunderbolts that blotted out the sky and covered the earth. It was as if the heavenly thunderbolts had descended to the world, punishing all living things with thunder and crushing towards the purple thunder profound cauldron. The oppressive thunderbolts made one's hair stand on end and felt a chill in the heart. Du Xiaofu went all out in the 8 trigrams diagram, and a vision appeared in the sky, erupting with a vast power. The purple thunder profound cauldron rotated, and waves of shocking purple gold thunderbolts turned into a thunderbolt black hole, becoming brighter and brighter. It was as if there were countless purple gold spiritual snakes shuttling in the void. Although the starlight thunderbolts were terrifying, under the influence of the 8 trigrams diagram, they could no longer shake the purple thunder profound cauldron. The purple thunder profound cauldron also swallowed the starlight thunderbolts that were like thunder punishment. Rumble! In the end, a large amount of starlight thunderbolts spread out, as if countless bombs had exploded. The terrifying thunderbolt power fell from the 9 heavens, and a rumbling sound reverberated in midair. How terrifying was this! It was simply destructive. However, all of this could no longer change anything. Du Xiaofu went all out, and the purple thunder profound cauldron was swallowing all the starlight thunderbolts. The vast starlight thunderbolt pool was weakening, and waves of starlight thunderbolts were swallowed by the purple thunder profound cauldron. There was no way to stop it, and only the low rumbling of thunder resounded in the space. How could this be? A fearful voice came out from the thunderbolt beast's mouth. The starlight thunderbolt pool was getting smaller, and the more it was swallowed, the weaker its aura was. Du Xiaofu's green spirit armor was also wrapped in starlight thunderbolts, and the thunderbolt martial vein on his body was also becoming brighter. He had also swallowed a large amount of spiritual thunderbolts. Fight! The thunderbolt beast could no longer hold back. Its huge body flew out and pounced into the 8 trigrams diagram in the void. Thunderbolts wrapped around it, and it was like a sun in the sky, distorting the void inside the 8 trigrams diagram. Rumble! The rumbling of thunder was deafening. The starlight thunderbolts struck one after another, wreaking havoc in the void, and the destructive power was surging. At this moment, it was as if Du Xiaofu's 8 trigrams diagram was about to be overturned. The surrounding void crumbled inch by inch, and pitch-black spatial cracks swept out. It was drowned in starlight thunderbolts, and it was a shocking and terrifying scene. At this moment, it was already a critical moment. The spiritual thunderbolt had already felt the real danger and was going all out. Gee! The 8 trigrams diagram shone brightly, and a vision filled the sky. Du Xiaofu condensed a huge purple gold thunder rock, carrying the purple thunder profound cauldron. Instead of advancing, it retreated and attacked the thunderbolt beast without hesitation. Rumble! Under the suppression of the purple thunder profound cauldron and the 8 trigrams diagram, the thunderbolt beast was also crushed by the purple gold thunder profound cauldron. Thunderbolts raged like the most beautiful fireworks. ZZ! The starlight thunderbolt beast collapsed, and suddenly, an exceptionally bright starlight thunderbolt swept out. It broke free from the suppression and devouring of the 8 trigrams diagram and the purple thunder profound cauldron, and escaped at a terrifying speed. Brat, I'm not done with you. I will never let you go! A sharp voice rang out. The fleeing dazzling starlight and lightning transformed into a ferocious beast about 5 feet long outside the 8 trigrams in the void. However, it was exceptionally dazzling, crystal clear, and filled with a destructive aura. Chapter 1874. Spiritual Thunder Soul Seed! Du Xiaofu's eyes flickered as he looked at the dazzling star lightning beast. That was the soul seed of this spiritual thunder, its foundation. Brat, pay the price. This is my world, and I have long been complimented by the stars in outer space. You are destined to be refined by me. A sharp and angry roar resounded, and the entire space trembled. A vast and boundless pressure seeped out from the void, and runes covered the space densely. Starlight undulated in the void, filling the entire sky. The terrifying pressure was too vast, and it imprisoned the void. It even wanted to imprison Du Xiaofu's void 8 trigrams diagram. In an instant, Du Xiaofu felt as if he had sunk into a swamp within the void 8 trigrams diagram. His xianqi slowed down, and even with the purple lightning profound cauldron and the lightning martial vein, he was still greatly suppressed. Even Du Xiaofu's cyan spirit armor was suppressed by a huge force, making every step he took as slow and strenuous as an old cow plowing a field. At this moment, the spiritual thunder soul seed was surrounded by starlight. It was as if a terrifying star was falling from the Milky Way, directly suppressing Du Xiaofu, crushing everything in its path. Rumble! In the outside world, Qi Yeshi, who was sitting cross-legged and surrounded by starlight, suddenly opened her eyes. The starlight energy around her was retracting toward the stars in outer space. The suspended stars in the void shone brightly, trembling in the void, and emitting a sonorous sound, releasing endless pressure. Qi Yeshi's eyes were serious, and her expression was tense. She looked at the exploding stars in outer space, and her slender hands were tightly clenched together. This is the power of the stars in outer space! Within the 8 trigrams diagram, Du Xiaofu's eyes flickered. At this moment, the mighty pressure came from the stars in outer space. This was the pressure from the mysterious stars in outer space. This spiritual thunder could borrow the power of the stars in outer space. This power was too terrifying. It was vast and filled with endless mystery, and its pressure could suppress all living things. Brat, it's over. Die! The spirit thunder soul seed was ferocious. It carried with it the pressure of the stars in the sky. The light was dazzling, and the runes were blazing. It was as if countless stars in the sky were collapsing. That kind of vast power was too terrifying. Ka! Under such a vast power, Du Xiaofu's void 8 trigrams diagram also began to crack. Some of the anomalies were destroyed, and some of the light dimmed. Boom! At the critical moment, Du Xiaofu's hand seals condensed, and dazzling divine light started to spread out from his body. It transformed into a vast divine halo that was exceptionally dazzling, and it erupted with brilliant ferocity like the sun rising from the east. This was Du Xiaofu's boundless energy of rebirth, and when one was enveloped within it and fused with it, it was otherworldly, divine, and inviolable. Moreover, the aura that surged from his entire body was like a waterfall that surged and seethed. All of a sudden, a saintly aura descended. All kinds of strange phenomena on the 8 trigrams once again flashed in the sky. A river of stars gushed out, a purple gold thunder rock appeared, and purple flames whistled. It was as if a new world was being born. Buzz! Buzz! The sonorous sound of wind and thunder resounded in the space. The rumbling sound was endless, and it swept through the void, causing great waves to rise and fall. This kind of power also resisted the pressure of the stars pouring down from the sky, and those countless symbols were shattering. Especially at this moment, the starlight that appeared in the void 8 trigrams diagram was invisibly connected with the pressure of the stars from the sky. Crash! Crash! The symbols were shattered. Du Xiaofu was now aided by the boundless energy of rebirth, the profound of the 8 trigrams, and the thunder martial veins at full strength. The boundless execution was sweeping in all directions. What is this? Is this the supreme nirvana? The spiritual thunder soul seed trembled. That terrifying pressure caused an unerasable fear to gush out from its heart. It's over! The void was turbulent, and the wind and clouds surged. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was standing as a supreme nirvana, looking disdainfully at all directions. His shout was like the cry of a rock piercing through the clouds and splitting rocks, and also like the cry of a dragon and the cry of a divine elephant. The light in his eyes was like 2 purple-gold thunderbolts that pierced through the void. A palm strike that contained the 8 trigrams diagram and unparalleled execution fiercely attacked the spiritual Thunder Soul seed. Rumble! The spiritual Thunder Soul seed's fierce eyes trembled, and its sparkling and translucent body was shattered. Kid, you're still too inexperienced! But at this moment, from the shattered spiritual Thunder Soul seed, a terrifying aura that made one's soul tremble rushed towards Du Xiaofu's face. It turned into the most dazzling and sparkling starlight thunderbolt, and directly drilled into Du Xiaofu's forehead. However, at this moment, Du Xiaofu's face was filled with joy instead of shock. A smile that seemed to be a smile that was not a smile appeared on his face. Boom! Boom! The starlight thunderbolt drilled into Du Xiaofu's forehead, and a monstrous aura that wanted to destroy the primordial spirit swept out in Du Xiaofu's mind. That terrifying aura carried destruction, as if it could destroy the primordial spirit in an instant. But in this destructive aura, there was an aura that could nourish the primordial spirit. Vitality and destruction coexisted. This kind of aura shocked Du Xiaofu. That terrifying aura could destroy the primordial spirit, but it could also nourish the primordial spirit. That kind of feeling was like water that could carry a boat, but it could also capsize it. However, in the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, Du Xiaofu was already prepared. The protection of the thunder martial vein in his body surged out. A magnificent and desolate aura spread out, channeling the purple-gold electric arcs into his mind and enveloping the starlight and thunder. At the same time, the Scarlet Horse Monkey's primordial spirit in Du Xiaofu's Naiwen Palace rushed out. In an instant, it released a violent and destructive aura. The silver-gold lightning that filled the sky swept out and spread throughout the Naiwen Palace. This was the silver net soul-devouring thunder, earth-shattering thunder, soul-destroying thunder, and golden crow sky-burning thunder that Du Xiaofu had merged with. In addition, there was an extremely terrifying spiritual root aura that had always existed in his mind. Even at this moment, the 3,000 vibrating thunder that had always existed in Du Xiaofu's mind was affected and released its aura. It was too fast. Everything happened in an instant. The silver-gold lightning arc spread out and poured down. There was an ancient and domineering aura, desolate and magnificent. It could not be provoked and contained violent destruction. It's not just one spiritual thunder. You have merged with 5 spiritual thunders. How can this be? This is impossible, impossible. At this moment, the starlight thunderbolt that had just rushed into Du Xiaofu's mind turned into a crystal-clear thunder beast. It suddenly trembled, and its fierce eyes were filled with fear. It immediately began to retreat. At this moment, the starlight spiritual thunder soul seed knew that the human in front of it had not only merged with one spiritual thunder. It had clearly felt the aura of 5 spiritual thunders. The numerous terrifying auras made it fearful. It was naturally suppressed. As a single soul seed in this place, it did not have any room to fight back. Who are you? The soul seed left these words in Du Xiaofu's mind. Then, it was swallowed by Du Xiaofu's thunder martial vein and the spiritual thunder that was formed by the 4 spiritual thunders. Walala! Above the void, the 8 trigrams pattern in the void disappeared. The purple gold thunder rock and the divine rings disappeared. All kinds of strange phenomena converged and quietly hid in the void. Chapter 1875. The pressure in the air also calmed down and returned to normal. Buzz buzz, the terrifying lightning formed by the starlight was dissipating, and only a few faint arcs of starlight occasionally reverberated in the air. Pfft! When everything calmed down, Du Xiaofu couldn't help but spit out a large mouthful of blood, and the aura on his body instantly became chaotic. That was close! Du Xiaofu's face was very pale as the green spirit armor retracted. Using all his strength like this consumed too much energy. Not only did it exhaust Du Xiaofu, but the colding energy in his body also started to riot. Fortunately, Du Xiaofu had already completely suppressed the spiritual lightning. Otherwise, the consequences would have been unimaginable if it had dragged on for a while. Phew! Du Xiaofu took a deep breath. He still had lingering fear. The consequences would have been unimaginable. Refine! At this moment, whether it was the surging colding energy in his body or the spiritual lightning soul seed in his mind, they all needed to be refined. Then, Du Xiaofu sat cross-legged on a rock in the air that was rippling with starlight. He formed a seal with his hands and began to circulate his cultivation technique to refine it. Buzz buzz, from the surface of Du Xiaofu's body, there were arcs of electricity on his exposed skin, enveloping his entire body. The heavenly stellar space fell silent again. Only the stars in the sky in front of them were floating like mountains, exuding a mysterious and ancient aura as they flickered with dazzling light again. The light above the stars in the sky was like starlight. Qi stood there, 2 strands of black hair gently brushing against her face. Wrapped in a light green dress, her small waist outlined a graceful arc. The starlight made Qi Yishi look hazy and dreamy. This kind of beauty was not only in appearance, but also in her temperament. It made her look like a real immortal who had descended to the mortal world, untainted by the mortal world. Seeing that the huge stars in the sky had gradually calmed down, and feeling that the spiritual lightning aura was getting weaker and weaker, Qi Yishi's red lips parted slightly, and her tightly clenched hands relaxed. I haven't died all these years, so I'll definitely be fine this time. Qi Yishi's brows curved as she stared at the stars in the sky and murmured. The light in her eyes swirled and there was a hint of determination in them. Afterwards, Qi Yishi continued to sit cross-legged. Her body was enveloped in dazzling starlight as she absorbed the energy released from the stars in outer space. Star runes seeped out of the void and were gradually drawn in by her, gathering around her graceful body as if a new star was forming. Time passed slowly, like the sand between one's fingers, quietly disappearing. It had been more than a year since the opening of the Divine Dominion. After the father and son Du Tingxian and Du Xiaofu made a fuss about legalism, Kyushu had been extremely peaceful. There were no major disputes in Kyushu. The major powers didn't make any moves either. They didn't even send their personal disciples down the mountain. They were all cultivating in seclusion in their seclusion. Rumor has it that a great calamity of the world is coming, and it has something to do with those ancient demons. Those major powers have all let their disciples cultivate in seclusion so that they can have more power to protect themselves when the great calamity comes. These rumors spread in Kyushu. There was a lot of discussion in secret, and it made people panic. Phoenix Clan, Wutong Mountain. In a mysterious space in an ancient world, the air was scorching hot. Shocking crimson flames spread out from the void. It was so terrifying that it could instantly incinerate a top expert into ashes. Whoosh! The raging flames covered the void like a sea of fire. The high temperature burned the void, revealing pitch-black spatial cracks. It was so hot that living creatures couldn't step into it. However, there was a strange reddish-gold dragon entrenched in the middle of the sky. Its huge eyes were tightly shut, and there was a mysterious vertical third eye between its brows. At this moment, it seemed as though there was a fiery flame dancing within it. This strange dragon had a pair of wings spread out, emitting a kind of bright and beautiful light flame. Its huge body was being refined by the blazing flame, and the scales all over its body had already become increasingly bright and golden. Coo! A bird's cry reverberated in the void. In the raging flames, a seven-colored light shone brightly. A huge vermilion bird's rune was arranged and deduced. It then rushed into the body of the crimson golden dragon and turned into a rune that rushed out. The cycle continued. Every time the cycle occurred, the aura of the crimson gold variant dragon would become more vigorous. On Wutong Mountain, there was another scorching space in the Phoenix clan. The five-colored flames burned like a sea of divine fire. Under the blazing five-colored flames, it could easily destroy a martial domain realm expert and incinerate him into ashes. However, at this moment, there were two huge phoenixes that were wrapped in the five-colored flames. Terrifying five-colored flames surrounded the bodies of the two huge phoenixes, entering and exiting from the surface of their bodies. It was extremely mystical. These two enormous phoenixes were burning with five-colored flames as they floated quietly in the air, causing the entire void to tremble. From the huge phoenixes' bodies, a terrifying pressure spread out, causing all beasts to tremble. It made people feel small and shocked. This was Feng Han's and Huang Linger's phoenixes' bodies. At this moment, the bodies of the two shone brightly. Huang Linger's body was slightly smaller. However, at this moment, Feng Han's body was undoubtedly much more dazzling. There was an incomparably deep black-purple flame surging out from his body. This was the phoenix bathing in fire. It was said to be able to burn everything, including all living things. The phoenix bathing in fire was said to be a spiritual fire formed when a phoenix was undergoing nirvana. It was said that since ancient times, there were only a few predecessors of the Phoenix clan who had obtained the opportunity to cultivate the phoenix bathing in fire. However, every predecessor of the Phoenix clan who had cultivated the phoenix bathing in fire was extremely powerful. There was even a 30% chance that they could rely on the phoenix bathing in fire and their bodies to be reborn. At this moment, with the cooperation of the phoenix bathing in fire, it was obvious that Feng Han had obtained great benefits here. When he came out of seclusion, he would definitely be able to reach a higher level and transform again. In comparison, Huang Linger's body was currently covered in a terrifying pressure. She was wrapped in raging flames, but if one looked carefully, one would see that her huge body had fallen into a withered state. Her beautiful feathers had already been burned, and her phoenix body was withering. Her flesh and blood had dried up, revealing sparkling white bones. Even her vitality was dimming. This was destruction. It wouldn't be long before Huang Linger's phoenix body was completely burned to ashes. Even her white bones would be turned into powder. However, if one looked carefully at this moment, one would discover that there was a seven-colored flame seeping out from Huang Linger's phoenix bones. It wrapped around her body and merged with the raging flames in the phoenix divine pool, protecting her last bit of vitality. The seemingly weak vitality in Huang Linger's body was gradually strengthening under the seven-colored flame. It was like a baby growing healthily. Within the vast divine pool of rebirth, there was a fingernail-sized flying ant wrapped in dazzling green light. It was wrapped in five-colored divine flames, and it emitted a five-colored brilliance from inside out. At this moment, the wings on this strange flying ant started to emit a five-colored luster. It came from its bloodline, and an extremely terrifying pressure suffused and spread out from its tiny body. This was the little ant emperor. It was currently being tempered in the divine pool of rebirth, and it was seeking a transformation amidst the extreme danger. If it could persist until it succeeded, it would be able to eliminate its illness. It would be like a butterfly breaking out of its cocoon and transforming into a supreme ant phoenix. It would definitely shake the world. Clouds and mist coiled around the vast plain. This seemed to be the end of the world. There was an enormous circle above the plain. The arc in the middle was divided into two, forming the two extremes of yin and yang. It was faintly discernible. Whoop! Black mist lingered above the void. An evil aura fluctuated, and the cries of ghosts and gods resounded. In front of a floating palace in the void, a middle-aged man in plain robes stood outside the palace with his hands behind his back. His eyes narrowed as he looked at the evil black mist in the void. "There really isn't much time left. The seal is about to break," the middle-aged man in plain robes muttered softly. Dazzling runes flashed in his eyes. It was a moonlit night. The bright moon hung high in the sky. Above the pure white moonlight, a faint wisp of black mist was faintly discernible. "There isn't much time left. I'm afraid that seal won't be able to last much longer." A faint voice sounded, and a graceful figure appeared in the void. Under the moonlight, this figure's long dress fluttered. Under the hazy moonlight, this beautiful figure's face was beautiful and mysterious. She was surrounded by a hazy radiance, and no one could see her clearly. Within the stars in outer space, the void was completely silent. There was no day or night, and it was as if time had lost its meaning in this place. Sizzle! In this silence, there were occasional electric arcs that surrounded Du Xiaofu, who was sitting cross-legged. No one could see that in Du Xiaofu's Naiwen Palace, the Starlight spiritual thunder soul seed was being suppressed and devoured by various spiritual thunders, spiritual roots, and the thunder martial vein. It was being absorbed into the primordial spirit Redbone Horse Monkey's primordial spirit. The Redbone Horse Monkey's primordial spirit, which was originally silver-gold in color, now had a kind of starlight. It was becoming more and more solid and vigorous. The Starlight spiritual thunder was almost at the Saint realm. How powerful was that? Although the purple thunder profound cauldron had devoured a lot of it, the spiritual thunder soul seed had been absorbed by Du Xiaofu. This brought benefits to Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit beyond imagination. It also allowed Du Xiaofu's thunder martial vein to reach a new level. The thunder martial vein nourished Du Xiaofu, and the huge amount of energy caused his cultivation to rise directly. The surging cold energy that Du Xiaofu had devoured also brought great benefits to Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu's aura was rising slowly and steadily. This kind of slowness was relative. If there were people of the same cultivation level, seeing Du Xiaofu's slow speed of ascension, they would probably be so shocked that they would commit suicide. How was this slow? At such a cultivation level, such a speed of ascension was simply flying. Chapter 1876. At Du Xiaofu's current level of cultivation, it was difficult for him to raise his cultivation level just by relying on the abundant celestial qi and the strengthening of his primordial spirit. However, during this period of time, Du Xiaofu had benefited imperceptibly from the Phoenix clan, the Confucian school, and the Taoist school of thought. It was like sowing seeds in spring, and now it was time for Du Xiaofu to reap the harvest. Time passed calmly. In this empty space, there were only traces of electric arcs flashing. On the other hand, Du Xiaofu's aura was rising stronger and stronger. With his eyes tightly shut, Du Xiaofu was like an old monk in meditation. However, there was no doubt that when he woke up, he would be like a butterfly breaking out of its cocoon. He would reach a higher level. In the boundless plains, the two extremes of yin and yang were faintly discernible. The black fog was getting thicker and thicker, and the evil aura was getting stronger and stronger. The cries of ghosts and gods from the void were also getting denser and denser. Rumble! The plains trembled. Under the influence of the evil aura and the black fog, the yin-yang pattern kept glowing. The void was also trembling and rumbling. In front of the floating palace, a middle-aged man in plain robes stood with his hands behind his back. He looked at the rolling evil aura in the void, and his eyes darkened. "Break it! This seal should disappear!" Suddenly, a lifeless voice came from the void. Suddenly, rolling evil aura surged from the depths of the void. Lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled in the sky. The void trembled. Amidst the lightning and thunder, a 12-leaf black lotus appeared in the void. It gradually bloomed in the sky. It was 10,000 feet tall, and its black light covered the sky. Woo! Woo! In an instant, countless shadows of evil spirits surged out. They appeared in a frenzy. The cries of ghosts and gods and the demonic aura raged. It was as if something in this world had been awakened. It was as if all the evil spirits in this world had been summoned to submit to it. Rumble. The entire plains trembled and rumbled. Dark clouds rolled and demonic aura filled the sky. It was as if countless ferocious beasts were roaring and howling, about to rush out from the dark underground. On the plain, the flickering yin-yang pattern began to tremble intensely. Under the impact of the monstrous demonic chi, it began to loosen and dim. The runes in the middle-aged man's eyes began to flicker, and the space around him began to tremble. The huge palace around him was filled with dazzling runes that intertwined with each other and turned into a dazzling ray of light that shot towards the 12-leaf black lotus like lightning. You still want to stop me? A beam of black light shot down from the 12-leaf black lotus. It carried with it monstrous devil chi as it tore through the void. A large area of space crumbled under the pressure as pitch-black spatial cracks spread out in all directions. Chi-la! Demonic energy gushed out, ghosts wailed, and deities howled. The void shattered, and the entire sky was torn apart as if it was about to explode. It was terrifying to the extreme. This time, the white-robed middle-aged man did not manage to block the attack. His figure staggered back a step, and his eyes were extremely serious. I'll deal with you first today! A lifeless voice rang out as the huge 12-leaf black lotus spun and crashed toward the hovering palace. Its terrifying power caused the void to rumble as boundless black light filled the sky. How dare you! At this moment, 4 shouts rang out from the end of the void. 4 beams of dazzling energy shot out from the north, south, east, and west. Finally, they gathered above the plain. The white-robed middle-aged man formed the hand seal, and in an instant, the aura on his body seemed to spread out. Light shone brightly, and a beam of dazzling energy shot out and gathered. 5 beams of dazzling energy intertwined and instantly formed a dazzling sharp sword in the void. Ancient runes rippled and intertwined as it traversed the void and dispersed the boundless black light. It seemed as if it had descended from ancient times to resist the 12-leaf black lotus. You can't stop me anymore! When the lifeless voice rang out, the 12-leaf black lotus bloomed, and 7 3-legged cauldrons that were filled with purple lightning appeared. Rumble! When the 7 3-legged cauldrons appeared, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, and purple-gold lightning poured down from the sky. Crash! The sharp sword in the void was in a stalemate. However, after a moment, it turned into monstrous ancient runes and scattered in the void. It could no longer stop the attack. Break! Purple-gold lightning rumbled and poured down on the yin-yang pattern on the plain. The 12-leaf black lotus spun and released endless black light. Countless evil spirit phantoms gushed out and appeared in a frenzy. Crack, crack! Under such a vast destructive power, the yin-yang pattern finally began to crack completely, and endless light burst out. Swish! However, it was also at this moment that a dazzling light shot out from the yin-yang diagram like a bolt of lightning, erupting with boundless light. The dazzling sun and the sky interweaved with each other, and directly collided with the 12 black lotuses. Boom! Such an impact scattered the endless black light, causing the huge black lotus to instantly dim. The black runes were destroyed, and even the 7 3-legged cauldrons were affected. Lu Xiaoyu, you tricked me. However, today is different. You can't trap me anymore. The lifeless voice seemed to be furious for the first time. The sound waves surged in the sky, as if the light attack had caused a huge impact on it. Woo-woo! When the furious voice sounded, the yin-yang pattern on the plain completely shattered. Demonic energy surged and wreaked havoc. Suddenly, something in the world seemed to have been awakened. The world trembled and dark clouds rolled. It was as if countless ferocious beasts were roaring. Above the plain, endless light erupted. The sky was turning upside down, and the world was turning upside down. The light illuminated the world, shocking the world. Whoosh whoosh! At this moment, old figures floated in the sky above the 9 great clans, the 4 seas, Wutong Mountain, the Beast region, Kyushu, and the 3 continents. Numerous gazes were fixed on the sky. Dazzling light shot out from the many weathered faces. This world will eventually become a demonic domain. Everything will be destroyed. No one can stop it. The furious voice gradually became lifeless. It was deep and intimidating, as if it had surged out from the depths of hell. It made one's heart tremble for no reason. Woo-woo! When the voice disappeared, the 12-leaf black lotus wrapped around the 7 three-legged cauldrons and disappeared. The monstrous baleful energy and surging demonic energy in the sky also gradually disappeared into the depths of the sky. The heavenly devil battlefield has opened. In front of the floating palace, the white-robed middle-aged man's face was slightly pale. His voice echoed in the 3 continents, Kyushu, and resounded throughout the world. Above the 3 continents, Kyushu, the 4 seas, and the beast region, light burst forth. It was as if a spatial rift had extended from the depths of the sky. Demonic energy poured into the sky, and all sorts of ancient runes shone brightly. Oh-hum! Between heaven and earth, the cries of ghosts and the howls of gods resounded. There were also the sounds of gods, demons, and Buddhas shaking the world. Many old figures floated in the sky, gazing into the distance with narrowed eyes and excited expressions. The heavenly devil battlefield has opened. The ancestors of the golden-winged great rocks once lived there. Within the golden-winged great rocks, the old lady gazed into the depths of the sky. Her voice echoed throughout the entire clan. The heavenly devil battlefield is filled with both danger and opportunity. Go and find the remains of our ancestors. At the very least, bring them back to the clan. Boom! Boom! In an instant, golden light erupted. Figures within the golden-winged great rocks soared into the sky. Grandmother, we will definitely find the remains of our ancestors and bring them back to the clan to rest in peace. Jialo Tsayu floated in the sky. There was a valiant aura in her beauty. Her eyes shone with golden light. Beside her stood Jialo Jiayu, Jialo Jiakom, and the others. The 4 seas were vast and boundless. Huge waves surged into the sky. Oh! Dragon roars resounded. Giant dragons rushed out, dazzling. Dragon might swept across the sky and soared into the sky. Mount Wudong, the Phoenix clan. Screech! Phoenix cries rang out in the sky. Many figures floated in midair, spreading the might of a supreme being. At the front were 2 women and 1 man. They were particularly outstanding. One of the women had willowy eyebrows and a snowy face. She wore a tight red outfit that outlined her sexy figure. Her waist was curvaceous, and she wore a red cloak that trailed down. There was a hint of valiance in her nobility. The other woman wore a purple robe that outlined her seductive figure. Her temperament was otherworldly, like a fairy that did not eat the food of mortals. Apart from the 2 women, there was a man in a battle robe who stood tall and straight. His 5-colored eyes shone on his handsome face, and his long red hair draped over his shoulders. He looked extraordinary. Zishuan, Huangwu, Feng Chu, you guys go first. Be careful. A beautiful woman spoke to the 2 women and 1 man. Her clothes were gorgeous but not graceful. She was simple but did not lose her luster. Her face was beautiful but she had a noble temperament. Her beautiful eyes moved slightly, suffused with a magnificent light, and revealed a deep look. Legalism in the sky plains. Du Xiaojing stood in the air. His clothes fluttered slightly, and his hair danced gently. Xiaojing, you are of the legalism lineage, and so is your mother. My legalism lineage is firm and indestructible. You are extremely talented. This time, enter the heavenly devil battlefield and find my ancestors. If you can obtain what they left behind, you will definitely be able to dominate the current era and surpass the ancient era. The old High Lord looked at Du Xiaojing with anticipation and excitement. Du Xiaojing's hair fell to his waist, and his eyes were as clear as stars. However, there was a hint of fluctuation in the depths of his eyes that was then restrained. Whoosh! Then, the graceful figure flew into the sky and left, followed by many powerful cultivators. At the same time, many experts from the Taoist, Yin-Yang, Buddhist, famous, and other major schools walked out. In the Beast region, Shang region, Wanzhou, Yu region, and other Kyushu regions, countless figures soared into the sky from many ancient sects and headed to the Heavenly Devil battlefield. The opening of the Heavenly Devil battlefield broke the peace of the current era. Various sects and factions rushed out. They wanted to enter the most mysterious place to explore the ancient battlefield and find ancient opportunities. The Heavenly Devil battlefield has opened. There are great dangers there, but also great opportunities. Countless cultivators in the 3 continents of Kyushu received the news and headed to the Heavenly Devil battlefield. The Heavenly Devil battlefield shook the world. In the 3 continents of Kyushu, countless figures flew. All living beings fought to step into that ancient world to find opportunities and luck. Countless old figures floated in the air and looked around. They were still testing and deducing, not rashly entering. February 1st, a new volume will begin. Chapter 1877. Go, Master will be there soon. Yes. An old woman spoke to Dongli Qingqing from the Great Luan sect in the middle ground. Dongli Qingqing stood tall on the mountain top. She was like a fairy, peerless and independent. She stood quietly in the air, giving people a feeling of supreme vitality. She was out of this world. Master, take care. Dongli Qingqing's beautiful figure flew into the air as she looked into the distance. Whoosh whoosh, many experts from the Great Luan sect followed behind Dongli Qingqing. The towering peaks were shrouded in clouds and mist. Thousands of mountains rose and fell, magnificent and boundless. The Heavenly Devil battlefield has finally opened. Let's go! Let's go! On the mountain peak, Sima Taxing Star's black hair and green robes complemented his tall and slender figure. There was a hint of elegance in his dignified appearance. He flew into the air as soon as he finished speaking. Follow the sect master. Yes. The Golden Rock Protectorate Master, Gu Qingyang, and other experts from the ancient Sky sect, as well as Xiangling, Shui Ruhan, Si Ruofeng, Yin Mochen, and the other young elites of the ancient Sky sect, stepped into the air and followed closely behind. Desolate country, Stone City. Many figures stood in front of the palace. Du Tingxian, Elder Lei, Du Yunlong, Du Xiaoman, Jin Qingchen, Yi Piaoling, Yi Wuming, and the others were in the lead. There were also Yi Zijing, Phantom, and Mo Tian Shao, Mian Mengwang, Thunder Eagle King, Silverwing Demonic Condor, Chioli, and other familiar figures. The Heavenly Devil battlefield is where ancient heroic spirits are buried and ancient demons are sealed. Opportunities and misfortune exist together. Luck and danger coexist. Everyone be careful, Du Tingxian said as he looked into the sky. His handsome face was slightly serious, but there was a burning anticipation. The Heavenly Devil battlefield was filled with too many legends and secrets. If they wanted to truly resist legalism, the Heavenly Devil battlefield was undoubtedly the last chance. I wonder where Xiaofu is right now. Will he arrive before us when the Heavenly Devil battlefield opens? Qin Chen asked. It had been a long time since the Stone City had heard any news about him. He was the soul of the barren country and the pillar of the Stone City. He will definitely go, Du Tingxian said. Whoosh whoosh. A moment later, powerful auras fluctuated within the Stone City, and figures flashed out like lightning. Demon realm, mountains, deep forests. After the deity domain, the Heavenly Devil battlefield will open. This time, who will be the final winner? Inside the ancient cave, a young man in green robes with peerless grace walked out. His eyes were vast and boundless. As he walked out, flowers bloomed all around him, exuding exuberance and vitality. Gradually, he disappeared into the air. Within the boundless heaven and earth, an enormous black river stretched across the land, and it was suffused with an aura of the underworld. It seemed as if it was overflowing from the underworld, causing one's soul to feel cold and palpitate. Heavenly Devil battlefield, here I come! Strange black runes appeared on the river, and a young man in black robes walked out of the divine river. His eyes were looking at the sky, as if they contained the underworld. As he stepped out, his figure disappeared in an instant. In the vast glacier, 1,000-meter-tall icefall hung in the air. Surrounding it were towering icebergs that towered into the clouds. It was a shocking scene. A huge palace seemed to be made of ice, and it was filled with runes. It was crystal clear, as if it was the purest and most flawless existence in the world. Lian Qingrong looked at the void. Her eyes were clear, and her skin was like jade. Behind her, there were 8 women in white dresses. Each of them was incomparably beautiful and graceful. After enduring for so long, in the heavenly devil battlefield, there will be a real fierce battle. Who will be the final winner? In Lian Qingrong's clear eyes, there was a fluctuation of light. She waved her hand slightly, and then disappeared from the glacier with the 8 maidservants. In the endless blazing magma, a young man in fiery armor walked out of the rolling magma. His eyes were like 2 volcanoes that could burn and destroy everything. This time, no one can steal the limelight from me, the fire cloud evil god Dugufenshin. As he spoke, the magma rolled, and his figure quietly disappeared. In the dark space, a murderous aura fluctuated, and a dark red figure quietly appeared in the void. On a dark red robe with a hood covering his forehead, he raised his head slightly. His face was angular and clear, and his dark and deep icy eyes cast a sharp and deep gaze, giving people a sense of oppression. Du Xiaofu, I'm not done with you! After saying that, his figure quietly disappeared, turning into a black light that swept into the void. On the day that the heavenly devil battlefield opened, the world was shaken. The major forces in the world were alarmed, and they sent their experts to the heavenly devil battlefield. The geniuses came out of seclusion, and the supreme martial artists came out. Suddenly, the 3 continents, Kyushu, and a territory that had been suppressed for a long time exploded. Some small and medium-sized forces and rogue cultivators also moved and rushed to the heavenly devil battlefield. In the silent space, time passed quietly. Du Xiaofu sat cross-legged in the Ni1 palace in his mind. As the mysterious incomplete cultivation method slowly integrated the soul seed of Star Splendor Thunder Soul Seed into his primordial spirit, the Coldine energy in his body was also being refined, and the aura in his body was constantly rising. The star spiritual thunder power that was originally devoured by the thunder martial vein in Du Xiaofu's body was refined by the thunder martial vein and turned into a pure surge of energy that poured into Du Xiaofu's body. With the cultivation of the Nirvana realm, Du Xiaofu's divine watchtower in his body was enormous. However, the energy that was transformed from the spiritual thunder under the Saint realm was also incomparably enormous, endless, and surging violently. There were also the benefits that Du Xiaofu had obtained along the way. He had more or less gained from the Phoenix clan, Taoist sect, and Confucian sect. At this moment, all of these supported Du Xiaofu's aura to advance smoothly, without any obstruction. At some point, Du Xiaofu's rising aura had reached a point where it gradually stopped, as if it had reached a bottleneck. Sizzle, sizzle, suddenly, Du Xiaofu opened his eyes. Silver gold lightning shot out from his eyes, bringing with it the fluctuations of the star's spiritual arc, causing the surrounding space to tremble for no reason. What is indestructible? Du Xiaofu said, then closed his eyes again, and the space returned to silence. Whoosh, 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 in front of the stars in outer space, starlight rippled all over the sky. The energy of heaven and earth rippled around the graceful figure sitting cross-legged, like a river of stars rippling. A strange phenomenon appeared, and a vast chi spread out. From Qi Yeshi's body, a vast chi also began to rise, connecting with the vast stars in outer space. The sacred starlight rippled, illuminating the graceful figure, holy and majestic. Why haven't they come out yet? The heavenly devil battlefield has been open for several days. In the school of Yin Yang, the moon was above the willow branches. Qi Mingxian looked at the Tianqian secret realm in front of him with a solemn expression. They are still in the secret realm, but I don't know anything about it. Let's wait a little longer. Moon Saint's faint voice reverberated. Her long dress fluttered, beautiful and mysterious. The heavenly devil battlefield has just been opened, and there are still remnants of the sealing power. At the moment, cultivators of the Saint Plane are still unable to enter. Once a Saint Plane cultivator can enter, they probably won't be able to get anything. Qi Mingxian was worried. These days, when the heavenly devil battlefield was opened, countless beings entered it, but there were still remnants of the sealing place on the heavenly devil battlefield, and cultivators of the Saint Plane were still unable to enter. Once cultivators of the Saint Plane were able to enter, the pressure on the younger generation would increase greatly, and they probably wouldn't be able to get anything good. Once a Saint Plane cultivator can enter, those demons in the heavenly devil battlefield will probably be completely freed. When that time comes, the great calamity of heaven and earth will truly come again. Moon Saint sighed, and her eyes shone. The space around her trembled for no reason, and her body was shrouded in a hazy radiance, like a bright moon in the sky. Chapter 1878. Golden light shot into the sky from the peaks of the mountains. A young man in golden clothes instantly walked out. His golden hair hung loosely on his shoulders, and he was thin and tall. He raised his head slightly to look at the sky while a wisp of an unrestrained smile hung on the corners of his mouth at all times. Moreover, he emanated the aura of a king that shook the world. Heavenly devil battlefield, Little Blue, Little Tiger, and that fellow. Have all of you arrived? As soon as he finished speaking, the young man's dazzling golden eyes were suffused with anticipation and yearning, but it couldn't conceal his extraordinary heroic bearing. He was born with the aura of a king, and he emanated a strand of chaotic energy. Wutong Mountain, Phoenix Clan. Roar! The cry of a phoenix resounded through the sky as an enormous phoenix surged into appearance from space. Its entire body was covered in extremely deep dark violet flames that incinerated space and all living beings. The energy of the heavens and the earth and the surroundings fluctuated violently and surged towards the enormous phoenix. Under such a terrifying aura, all the bloodline disciples of the entire Phoenix clan trembled before it, and there were cries of phoenixes that prostrated themselves before it. Feng Han has emerged from his closed-door cultivation. The phoenix bathed in flames within the divine pool of rebirth. No matter if it's his body or soul, both have been forged and transformed once more. On a towering wudong tree on a distant mountain, an old man from the Phoenix clan had an excited gaze, and his voice was trembling. Feng Han possesses the flames of a phoenix, yet he hasn't truly undergone rebirth within the divine pool of rebirth. That's too difficult. An old woman in luxurious clothes felt regretful. Feng Han, who possessed the flames of a phoenix, was the hope of the entire clan, and there were many chances for him to undergo rebirth within the divine pool of rebirth. However, at this moment, it would seem like he wasn't able to accomplish his wish. You're wrong. Feng Han hasn't truly undergone rebirth, but it's just that. He's already undergone rebirth and stepped foot into the true Overlord region. An aged old man spoke. His entire body was enveloped in divine flames, and his eyes were vast and ancient. Boom! Suddenly, space trembled for no reason. Dazzling multicolored light diffused out from the direction of the divine pool of rebirth, and then the image of an enormous beast floated up into appearance. The image of the beast had 8 wings, and they were like the wings of a phoenix. It was completely savage, and it carried the aura of an exalt. Rumble! The appearance of this strange beast carried with it a supreme aura, causing lightning to flash and thunder to rumble. Winds and clouds to surge in the void. That is, the divine soul-devouring ant. Above the towering flaming parasol trees in the distance, the powerhouses of the Phoenix clan trembled as they stared at the exotic beast under the huge shadow. It was the soul-devouring divine ant. It was the size of a baby and had 8 strange wings connected together. At this moment, it was covered in 5-colored flames and emitted the supreme aura of the Phoenix clan. This aura was far from what an ordinary disciple of the Phoenix clan could compare with. Compared to the aura of the Phoenix clan on Feng Han's body, it was not inferior at all. The divine soul-devourer ant was connected to the huge shadow behind it. Its entire body was green and translucent, and it was dyed with colorful colors. Its 8 wings, which were as thin as cicada wings, flapped slightly. Its aura was incomparably vigorous, and pitch-black spatial cracks appeared in the void around it. GG! With the appearance of such a soul-devouring divine ant, even the disciples of the Phoenix clan were crying out. Those who didn't have enough strength were trembling from head to toe. That kind of pressure wasn't any weaker than the pressure Feng Han gave them. Swoosh, swoosh. Above the void, there was an obscure aura that was alarmed and projected over, causing ripples. That little guy isn't the soul-devouring divine ant anymore. It has survived, and the ancestral phoenix blood essence in its body has awakened. It has broken out of its cocoon and turned into a butterfly. The supreme ant phoenix has been born. Huang Mingjuan's figure appeared in the void, and her eyes were filled with shock. So the supreme ant phoenix really exists. Some of the powerhouses of the Phoenix clan were astonished. The supreme ant phoenix, in ancient times, had once shocked the world. It was so famous that countless supreme powerhouses had to retreat. For these powerhouses of the Phoenix clan, they had once thought that the supreme ant phoenix was only a legend, and perhaps it would never appear again. But now, the legendary supreme ant emperor had appeared. If this matter were to spread, it would definitely shake the world. There was originally a huge sealed energy in this little guy's body, and it is now being refined. In the Nirvana Divine Pool, it has undergone a Nirvana rebirth, turning from an ant into a phoenix. In the future, its achievements will probably surpass Feng Han's. Huang Mengjun spoke again. Nirvana rebirth, turning from an ant into a phoenix. When these words entered their ears, the surrounding powerhouses of the Phoenix clan were speechless, but their hearts were in turmoil. Nirvana rebirth, Feng Han hadn't managed to do it, but this little guy had. Once it matured to the end, how terrifying would it be? Feng Han had the Phoenix baptism, but he only succeeded halfway. How could this soul-devouring divine ant have done it? Some of the powerhouses of the Phoenix clan couldn't accept it. After all, Feng Han had the Phoenix baptism, but he couldn't even compare to a soul-devouring divine ant. This little guy has the blood essence of the ancestral phoenix. Once it is stimulated, it won't be any weaker than us. If I'm not wrong, there are other secrets in its body. At the very least, it has the aura of the grass of immortality, dark penetrating grass, and the golden-winged great pink clan. Since this little guy isn't the ancestor of our Phoenix clan, the difficulty of Nirvana rebirth is lower. If the Phoenix clan can truly undergo Nirvana rebirth, comparatively speaking, Feng Han will naturally be slightly better. Huang Mengjun spoke, and her eyes flickered with shock. She continued, however, no one can predict how far this little guy can go after his bloodline and the ancestral Phoenix bloodline have undergone Nirvana rebirth. But one thing is certain, his future is boundless. It's said that in the ancient times, the Supreme Ant Phoenix was a close friend of the ancestral Phoenix. They fought side by side and swept through the ancient times. Now that this little guy has successfully undergone Nirvana, it is greatly related to our clan. It is also the credit of our Nirvana Divine Pool. This can be considered a great help to our clan. An elder from the Phoenix clan was excited. The Supreme Ant Phoenix was inextricably linked to the Phoenix clan. Now that this divine soul-devouring ant had successfully undergone Nirvana, it could be considered a great help to the Phoenix clan. Hearing this, Huang Mengjun smiled faintly and said, "Don't forget, this little guy was brought here by the little demon king." Hearing Huang Mengjun's words, the eyes of the surrounding experts of the Phoenix clan twitched inwardly. This Supreme Ant Phoenix was indeed brought here by Du Xiaofu. He had defeated Feng Han, and little Xingxing had miraculously ascended the Spirit Sparrow Terrace. This was the reason why the divine soul-devouring ant had obtained the opportunity to enter the Nirvana Divine Pool. Most likely, this Supreme Ant Phoenix would only recognize the Demon King. "The people around the Demon King are all terrifying," an elder said with a trembling voice. The desolate country already had many supreme experts. Not to mention Mo Tian Shao, Diumlong, Yi Piaoling, Dai Xingyu, Ouyang Shuang, and the others. Little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao were even more abnormal. Now, with the addition of the Supreme Ant Phoenix, they were like a tiger that had grown wings. A divine soul-devouring ant monarch was already terrifying enough, let alone a Supreme Ant Phoenix. Although Du Xiaofu, the Demon King, has a good relationship with our clan, and little Xingxing has ascended the Spirit Sparrow Terrace, we should still try our best to obtain this supreme ant phoenix. Who knows, this supreme ant phoenix might recognize our phoenix clan. An elder gritted his teeth. Although he had a good relationship with the demon king, Du Xiaofu, it was still better to obtain a bloodline like the supreme ant phoenix. And Linger, why hasn't she come out of seclusion? A plain-looking old woman gazed in the direction of the Nirvana Divine Pool with a solemn expression. Feng Han and the Divine Soul-devouring ant had already come out of seclusion. Only Huang Linge was left. Gee! And just as the old woman's voice fell, from the direction of the Nirvana Divine Pool, a shriek resounded through the void. Walala! Immediately after, 5-colored divine flames that blotted out the heavens and covered the earth soared out and covered the entire sky. It was the image of an enormous 7-colored phoenix that spread its wings in the sky, and its might covered the heavens and the earth. Even Feng Han and the exalted ant phoenix were suppressed by it. Aoo! Almost at the same time, in the direction of the Spirit Sparrow Terrace, a dragon's roar shook the universe. It was like the sound of the great Tao, suppressing the ancient land of the Phoenix clan. Gee! There were also the cries of birds that seemed to have come from ancient times. A dazzling vermilion bird phantom appeared. 7-colored divine light flooded the sky. It was as if it had traveled across time and space. It caused the space to riot, and was able to crush time and space. Rumble! The void trembled, and spatial ripples rolled back. The surrounding void was filled with runes. At this moment, the divine flame in the Nirvana Divine Pools soared into the sky. On the Spirit Sparrow Terrace, the resplendent light drowned the sky. The blood in the bodies of the Phoenix clan disciples boiled involuntarily, and their souls trembled. GG! In an instant, the bodies of many phoenixes entrenched themselves in the void. There were also Swan, Blue Luan, and other bodies that emitted resplendent lights of various colors. It was as if the divine flame covered the sky and covered the earth. Countless spiritual birds were hibernating and worshipping. 100 birds worshipped the phoenix of 10,000 phoenixes. The divine flame in the Nirvana Divine Pool has appeared. Someone has been reborn. In the Spirit Sparrow Terrace, the Spirit Lord has come out of seclusion. The entire Phoenix clan was in an uproar. At this moment, under the pressure of the two forces, even the experts in the Phoenix clan were trembling, especially from the direction of the Spirit Sparrow Terrace. In the Nirvana Divine Pool, there is only Huang Linger. She is being reborn. The Spirit Lord has obtained the Vermilion Bird's inheritance. The Vermilion Bird's inheritance has appeared. In the surrounding void, on the flaming parasol tree, the elders and protectors of the Phoenix clan leader Wang Mengjun, and the others were all trembling. On this day, the Phoenix clan was in an uproar, leaving behind endless legends for the future generations. In the silent void, time seemed to have stopped. ZZ. Only the occasional electric arc shuttled through the void, making ZZ sounds. Neither born nor destroyed, either destroyed nor born. Suddenly, in the silent void, there was a voice. The voice was not loud, but it resonated with the void. ZZ. In the void, Du Xiaofu's closed eyes, which were sitting cross-legged, opened again. There was a divine light shining in them, and lightning shot out. He said, "Neither born nor destroyed, there is no life in the first place, so there is no destruction. It is neither empty nor alive, there is neither real nor void, there is no beginning, and there is no going. If there is no life in the first place, there is no self-nature, it can give birth to all things." Chapter 1879. I understand now. As Du Xiaofu spoke, his cross-legged body shot out. A dazzling electric arc shot out from between his brows. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. It was too fast, even faster than lightning. Boom! In that instant, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the sky. The electric arc between Du Xiaofu's brows transformed into dazzling thunderbolts that blotted out the sky and covered the earth. These thunderbolts were of various colors. There was the earth-shattering thunder, the soul-destroying thunder, the starlight spiritual thunder that he had just merged with, and so on. There were a total of 5 types of spiritual thunder. At that moment, they were entrenched in the void. Their might was monstrous as they blasted down on Du Xiaofu, wanting to destroy everything. Rumble, the light of thunder and lightning flooded the void. It was boundlessly resplendent. Lightning runes were densely packed and illuminated the void. The vast 5-colored thunderbolts instantly enveloped Du Xiaofu and bombarded Du Xiaofu's physical body. 5 types of spiritual thunder. How terrifying was this? Any one of them was terrifying. At that moment, these 5 types of spiritual thunder were activated by Du Xiaofu's current cultivation. It was probably enough to kill all opponents below the sane realm. Among those of the same cultivation level as Du Xiaofu, there was no one who could resist it. Qi! Some of the dazzling thunderbolts condensed from electric arcs pierced through Du Xiaofu's shoulder. Some of the thunderbolts transformed into electric pythons that tore through Du Xiaofu's chest. Some of the thunderbolts blasted directly on his shoulder. In that instant, Du Xiaofu was blasted by the thunderbolts. No one dared to look directly at the scene. There is no life, so there is no destruction. However, at that moment, Du Xiaofu was completely fearless. His entire body was still glowing. He raised his head and roared. His black hair was like a waterfall that was dyed with electric arcs and drifted in the wind. Screech! With the Ping's cry piercing through the clouds and splitting rocks, the golden-winged great Ping beast in Du Xiaofu's body could rush out. Right after that, the star power Upanishad, the purple flame demonic phoenix, the dark insight grass, and the immortal grass in Du Xiaofu's body turned into 4 phantoms. Dazzling light shot into the sea of lightning, releasing dazzling light to resist the 5 kinds of lightning strikes. But soon, these main divine powers couldn't withstand the 5 types of spiritual thunder. Even with the immortal Xian body and the thunder martial vein, Du Xiaofu spat out golden blood. There is neither emptiness nor existence, there is neither reality nor emptiness, there is neither beginning nor end. Du Xiaofu shouted as he used several divine abilities to defend himself against the 5 types of spiritual lightning. This was Du Xiaofu defending himself, and as they clashed again and again, the void was shaken. On the surface of Du Xiaofu's body, a thunder martial vein appeared and covered his entire body. Du Xiaofu used the thunder martial vein to defend himself against the 5 types of spiritual thunder. However, the 5 types of spiritual thunder were too terrifying. Not long after, Du Xiaofu's body was once again covered in blood. He retreated and spat out blood. His vitality was also beginning to weaken. However, at this moment, as Du Xiaofu's vitality was weakening, the aura of the 5 types of spiritual thunder also weakened. At this moment, if someone saw this scene, they would definitely be dumbfounded and call it crazy. Du Xiaofu was pushing himself to a dead end. This was equivalent to wanting to commit suicide with no hope of survival. This was simply crazy. How could there be a breakthrough like this? Even Qi Xingpe, an expert of the older generation who had already set foot on the immortal Xian body, would definitely be dumbfounded if he was here. He definitely wouldn't be so crazy when he set foot on the immortal Xian body. This was simply 2 different paths. Du Xiaofu was attacking himself, using himself to fight himself. The aura on his body was getting weaker and weaker, and his vitality was getting weaker and weaker. Could it be that I'm wrong? No, immortal Xian body is not born or destroyed. How can oneself be born? Du Xiaofu shouted, his black hair flying. He didn't give in and didn't give in at all. He was still holding on. Rumble. The lightning fell, and blood arrows shot out from his body. It pierced through his body, and bloody holes appeared. At this moment, the immortal Xian body couldn't heal. Golden blood splashed like the sun, but it was very sad. Du Xiaofu couldn't hold on any longer. The light on his body was on the verge of dimming and was about to be annihilated. However, at this moment, just as he was about to be annihilated, Du Xiaofu's body changed. The lightning on his body shone brightly again. Roar! Covered in blood, Du Xiaofu raised his head and roared like a dragon and an elephant. From the depths of Du Xiaofu's body, an inexplicable fluctuation began to spread out. It was as if the potential of the human body had been unlocked at the last moment. A deep and bright energy rose up from within Du Xiaofu's body like a dragon rising from the abyss. It spread out in waves and rushed out from the surface of his body. At this moment, Du Xiaofu's body shone with lightning. The bones in his body made clanging sounds and emitted the most terrifying aura, shaking the void. A vast power also circulated around Du Xiaofu's body, devouring all the energy in the surroundings and even the energy in the stars in the void. Rumble. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. The 5 types of spiritual thunder shone again, but this time, they were no longer attacking. They hovered in the void above Du Xiaofu's head. His black hair flew backward and his body shone brightly. Above the void, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was like a demonic god. In the extreme despair, a new power emerged in his body and he was transforming in the desperate situation. His body was recovering and his aura was rising. While devouring the surrounding energy, Du Xiaofu's body was boiling. He broke through the stagnant bottleneck and pushed to a new level. Immortality! With a thunderous roar, Du Xiaofu comprehended his indestructibility. The immeasurable nirvana was a new path. This realm was different from the same realm. However, at this moment, Du Xiaofu had grasped the truth and the ultimate Upanishad. His aura rose. Behind him, a purple gold thunder rock spread its wings and soared. Purple gold covered the sky and earth. Purple flame demonic phoenix, grass of immortality, and dark seeker grass also appeared in the void. These Upanishad beast abilities were also deduced to a new level. The most miraculous thing was that in the void, a void 8 trigrams diagram was faintly discernible. In the heavenly stellar secret realm, the outer heaven star that occupied the void flickered intensely. Vast energy surged from within. In front of the outer heaven star, there was also a graceful figure. She was devouring the energy in the outer heaven star. Her aura rose and the starlight rippled like a spiral galaxy. As time passed, the cultivators in the 3 continents Kyushu all headed for the heavenly devil battlefield. The crowd surged into the heavenly devil battlefield. News spread from the heavenly devil battlefield. Evil spirits were breeding inside. It was terrifying and a great war was about to break out. Countless ancient treasures had also appeared. Ancient inheritances had been found. Danger and danger coexisted. The mountain peak was covered in dusky light. Black fog covered the sun. A figure stood there silently. He was tall and sturdy, and he had a deep and fair face that revealed a well-defined arc. Find him. I want Du Xiaofu's whereabouts. The voice was ethereal. As soon as the voice fell, the figure disappeared. Farewell, second prince. The voice reverberated in the mountain peak. Many figures flew out and quietly disappeared into the void. In the outer heaven star, the void gradually calmed down. The energy in the entire void had also reached the stage of exhaustion. Du Xiaofu floated in the void with his eyes closed. The 5 types of spiritual lightning above his head had already dissipated. The aura on his body was as calm as water. There was no fluctuation at all. Tsk tisk. Suddenly, the eyelashes on his tightly shut eyes trembled slightly. He suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes were like 2 small suns. Golden light shot out. A vast aura swept out from his body. His long hair flowed down like a waterfall. It shook the surrounding void and shattered it inch by inch. His aura shook and shattered the void. The space rippled like stormy waves. How domineering and powerful was that? At that moment, Du Xiaofu's aura rose to the peak. His body made a clanging sound. It was as if thousands of beasts were galloping inside his body. His celestial qi was vast and surging. Du Xiaofu clenched his fist slightly. The surrounding void trembled and formed a whirlpool. If he punched out, it would be enough to shatter the void. Is this the power of immortality? With a smile on his face, Du Xiaofu's clenched fist slowly relaxed. The aura on his body also gradually retracted. The void returned to its original calm state. Such an increase in power and the pleasure brought by a breakthrough in cultivation was a fatal temptation to any cultivator. It was incomparable. I've finally broken through. Du Xiaofu smiled. He had finally broken through to the state of immortality. All his efforts had not been in vain. Using his mind to probe, Du Xiaofu looked inwardly at the primordial spirit in his Naiwen palace. The primordial spirit of the red-bone horse monkey's primordial spirit was originally silver gold in color. Extreme Sky Thunder! After refining and fusing with the soul seed of the starlight spiritual thunder, Du Xiaofu also learned about the origin of the spiritual thunder. It was the extreme sky thunder. It was not born in the star beyond heaven, but it was awakened and grew in the star beyond heaven. In the boundless void, the lightning was resplendent. There was a world-destroying divine thunder exploding. A bolt of lightning streaked across the void and landed on the stars in outer space. It had been dormant for countless years before it awakened and gradually grew to its current state. This was what Du Xiaofu learned after refining and fusing with the great sky lightning. Everything else was a blur, and he had no idea. After absorbing the fifth spiritual thunder, his primordial spirit transformed again. It was even more terrifying. This made Du Xiaofu very happy. He did not expect to gain so much from entering the Yin-Yang School's Tianqian secret realm. Crack, crack! Suddenly, a small crack appeared and echoed in the void. Du Xiaofu looked up. In the void of the star beyond heaven, small cracks began to appear. It's time to go out. Yishi must be worried. Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows. He took out a new set of robes from his Qianquan bag and changed into his ragged purple robes. He turned into a ray of light and left the void. Outside the star beyond heaven, Qi Yishi was shrouded in starlight. It was as if a miniature galaxy was circling around her. The stars revolved around her. It was extremely mysterious. Psst! Du Xiaofu appeared. Looking at the beautiful figure sitting cross-legged, his eyes narrowed. He looked surprised and said, "You've reached the domain realm. You're tuning into the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories."